Okay, I'm unmuted now.
You use that differently.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Chair. We are now live.
Okay. Welcome to the December Planning Committee meeting for Ealing Council. My name is Councillor Shatam Manro and I should be chairing the meeting. I have 13 members of the committee. I don't intend to introduce them all, but as they speak as part of the process, they can introduce themselves. We move on. First of all, apologies and absence. I don't have any apologies. And I think we have a full committee today, so there's no absence, apologies. Urgent matters, there are no matters which are urgent today. Declarations of interest. Could you just raise a hand if you want to declare an interest?
Yeah, Chair, can I just mention you? Yeah,
Councillor Mahmood?
Yeah, Chair, with I've been approached by Ealing Spiritual Church and the management committee and the leader of the church been in touch with me. So, and I have been there. So I thought I should let you know.
So they just lobbied you, is that correct?
That's true. Yeah.
But that's all. You've just been lobbied, yeah? That's fine. Okay. I also want to declare an interest. I've been lobbied quite hard from many different people on Wood End Library, and I have had long conversations. It is in my ward, so therefore I felt I could speak to them, but it does mean that I've had long conversations about this application. And as a result, I've decided that I will not vote on this application, although I'll chair the meeting for this application. I will not take any part or vote on the application, so I'll let the committee decide. So that's what I've decided to do for item 8, the Wood End Library, which is in my ward. No other declarations of interest, that's fine. There's no matters to be considered in private. Then we move on to the minutes of the 18th of November committee. I wasn't on the committee because who was somebody was on, could they approve or agree to approve the minutes?
Yeah, I was in the last meeting and I don't see any problem with the minutes, so I would propose the minutes.
Are the minutes agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed, Chair. Councillor Ahmed agreed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, before we move on to the items, we do have our standard legal representation, Jackie Adams, and we have our planning officers here, and also other planning officers, Alex Jackson, who's the lead planning officer today, and I think David Scarfield is also on our borough planner. So they will actually come in as and when we need them. So item 7 or item 1, because on the agenda it's item 7, public items, so 7, and the first item is the Arden Road car park. So I think it's Wade, is it? Wade Banks? Could
yes, that's correct.
The item?
Yes. Can I proceed?
Yep, if you go ahead,
Okay.
open
Brilliant.
up the camera and share your screen as an...
All right, so just bear with me. Make sure I can share my screen.
You need to start the camera. Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, let me open that. Can everyone see?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, good evening, Chair, members of the committee and everyone else tuning in. Before I introduce Arden Road site, I would just like to give you all a brief background to the Ealing's housing program in relation to all 6 sites being presented tonight. The Mayor of London has announced that Ealing has been awarded a grant of nearly £100 million towards the construction program to provide new homes across the borough. Ealing Council seeks to deliver 1,138 affordable new homes by March 2022 as part of their housing program, providing a mix of houses, flats, and wheelchair accessible homes. These homes will be available as social rent, London living rent, or London affordable rent 10 years, or as other affordable options. The 6 sites that we'll be presenting today are being developed as a single package of works by Broadway Living on behalf of the London Borough of Ealing as part of this housing delivery program. The 6 sites which have been identified to bring forward at this stage of the program are summarized in the table to the right. And they comprise a mix of houses and flats. Overall, a total of 134 much needed new homes are proposed, 98 of which are for affordable housing, which equates to 73%. When measured on a habitable room basis, this proportion of affordable housing increases to 76%. This will obviously make a significant contribution towards the provision of new affordable homes in the borough. Of the 98 affordable units being proposed as part of this package of works, 73 are proposed to be London affordable rent, which is 54% of all the homes combined. Measured on a habitable room basis, this increases to 59%. The remaining 25 affordable units would be provided as shared ownership. This equates to a 74 to 26% split between LAR units and shared ownership on a unit-by-unit basis. This increases to 77% to 23% split when measured on a habitable room basis. The LAR housing is considered to be genuinely affordable and should therefore be strongly supported by the council. So the first of the 6 sites that we'll be presenting today is the Arden Road car park site. The application site comprises the Arden Road car park, located at the corner of Arden Road and Oxbridge Road in West Ealing, and currently provides 25 public car parking spaces and 3 motorbike spaces. The site extends to approximately 860 square meters and is located in the Ealing Broadway ward. To the north of the site is the Arden Road Oasis Community Garden, a public amenity space run by the community. The community garden is to be retained as part of the proposal. The surrounding area comprises a mix of uses, and the site is bordered by the Ealing National Spiritualist Church to the east, which can be seen in this photo and in this photo, beyond which is the Ealing Fire Station. To the west of the site, across the road, is a 2-story terrace with 2 restaurants at the ground floor and residential units above. Also to the west of the site is Derwent House, Avon House, and Trent House, which are all 2-story and 3-story office blocks. It is, however, noted that Derwent House has since been converted into residential use. To the north of the site, opposite the community garden, are 2-story semi-detached houses to the south. And to the south of the site is Culmington Parade, which is a 4-story block with a run of shops at the ground floor and residential flats above. Also to the south is the 9-story A2 Dominion office building at 113 Oxbridge Road. The emerging context along Oxford Road and further afield is undergoing a significant transformation with the recent introduction of a number of buildings which are larger in scale and higher in density. Most notable, the hotel development opposite the site at 109 to 111 Oxford Road, the 9-story A2 Dominion office building at 113 Oxford Road, Exchange Plaza at 52 to 58 Oxford Road on the opposite side of the fire station, which is a Part 6 and Part 10-story office building, and several other taller buildings along Oxford Road. The proposal at this site is for the construction of a Part 8, Part 6, and Part 4-story building, comprising 29 residential 1- and 2-bedroom units, and a commercial unit at ground floor. The development is considered to integrate well with the existing and emerging collection of taller buildings along Oxbridge Road. The design is of a high architectural quality, and the development would provide legibility to the area and would improve the visual amenity of the streetscape and public realm. It would also activate the commercial street frontage, bringing further vitality to the area. The massing involves a transition in height along Arden Road, with the rear of the building at 4 stories that respects and relates to the 3-story Derwent House in terms of its height, and the existing residential properties to the north at 2 stories with a roof level. The height is then increased towards Ealing Broadway, where the height better relates to the existing taller buildings in the vicinity, most notably that directly across the road at 113 Oxbridge Road, which can be seen in this image to the left. A balanced judgment has been made as to the scale of any harm to the nearby Ealing conservation area and the locally listed building, which is the fire station, it is considered that any harm would be less than substantial upon the heritage significance of these heritage assets, and that this limited harm would be outweighed by the significant benefits of the scheme. The proposal is therefore considered acceptable in this regard. The development would also incorporate refuse storage, cycle parking storage, plant rooms, a communal roof terrace, and associated alterations to the public realm along Arden Road and Oxford Road. They would also see a reduction in the public parking spaces provided from 27 down to 9. 25, sorry, down to 9. Materials in the locality vary, but include predominantly a mixture of red, glazed red, and buff brickwork, including some instances of decorative brick themes. There are several buildings with white or cream horizontal banding. In terms of the proposed building's appearance, brick would be the dominant material, which reflects the characteristic brick homes and buildings in the surrounding area. The palette of proposed materials would consist primarily of horizontal bands of light terracotta colored brick, intercepted with darker bands, and at certain instances in the building, a darker red/purple glazed brick is proposed, in particular around the base of the building, around the residential entrances, and the glazed soldier courses below the windows and to the edge of the balconies. To complement the horizontal bands of brick, it is also proposed to use tinted precast copings and a dark red/purple color for all external metal work, including window and door frames. Variations in the fenestration and banding would also create a good vertical and horizontal articulation to further break up the mass relative to its immediate context. A total of 15 units would be provided on a shared ownership basis, which equates to 52%, and 14 units would be for private sale. While this particular site would not provide any London affordable rent units, the scheme needs to be considered in the context of the wider affordable housing program approved by Ealing's Housing Department. As a whole, the 6 sites would far exceed the required affordable housing tenure mix set out in local policy. All of the proposed dwellings would be dual aspect or above, meet the minimum internal and external space standards, and would have a well-designed layout that would enable a good standard of living for all residents. The proposed development would optimize the regeneration potential of the existing underutilized car park site in a suitable location. The scheme would deliver 52% affordable housing to bridge the gap between identified housing need and supply within the borough. The provision of flexible commercial floor space would activate the ground floor and in combination with additional residents would enhance and sustain the vitality of this part of the Ealing Metropolitan Town Centre. This is consistent with the local and regional policies, and therefore the principle of the residential-led mixed-use scheme in this location is considered acceptable. Public consultation as part of the application was carried out in accordance with statutory requirements by way of site notices being placed on surrounding streets. The consultation process was doubled in length to 6 weeks in response to COVID-19. 162 representations from residents have been received, including those from Walpole Residents Association and the Ealing Civic Society. Of these representations, 158 objected to the proposal while 1 was in support. Since publication of the report, a further 18 objections were received, including those from the Five Roads Forum Residents Association, Councillor Young, Councillor Kumar, the President of the Ealing National Spiritualist Church, and scanned letters sent from the church congregation. The most common matters raised in these representations include the building's height and scale, density, design, impact on heritage assets, impact on trees and local ecology, impact on neighboring amenity in terms of sunlight, privacy, noise, and pollution, impact on the Oasis community garden, impacts on the neighboring church, highways impacts including congestion, road safety, loss of car parking spaces, and the housing mix and affordable housing tenure, quality of accommodation, and the consultation process itself. These representations have been reviewed and acknowledged within the committee report and the briefing notes. The impact of the development on neighboring amenity has been assessed and is not considered to cause undue noise emissions, overshadowing, or an increased sense of enclosure to the degree that would be detrimental to the neighboring amenity or warrants a refusal in this case. A sunlight and daylight assessment and subsequent addendum has been submitted with the application and demonstrates that where there is an impact to neighbouring properties, the scale of the impact is not beyond that expected for a town centre location and the development of an otherwise underdeveloped site or a completely undeveloped site. The proposal is therefore considered acceptable in this case on balance. All other materials, including impact on local ecology, environmental health, transport matters and servicing, energy and sustainability, have all been assessed and found acceptable, subject to appropriate conditions recommended in Appendix A of the committee reports and the relevant Section 106 agreements. However, it has been concluded that the matters raised in the objections do not outweigh the recommendation for approval in this case. For further clarity on some of the more common issues raised, the impact of the proposal on the Oasis Community Garden and Church have been considered and assessed. And while it is acknowledged that when you develop an otherwise undeveloped site, some degree of impact is inevitable. Nevertheless, it is considered that the level of impact would not be to the detriment of these spaces. In terms of the impact on the church, it is noted that the submitted sunlight and daylight assessment has considered the space in front of the church as an amenity space and therefore assessed it. The results demonstrate that this space passed the BRE guidelines on both the equinox and summer solstice dates. The level of sunlight and daylight available to the building itself was not assessed, as the building is not in residential use, and therefore this was not considered necessary at that stage. Nevertheless, while it is noted that there would inevitably be a degree of overshadowing caused by the proposal, the degree of which would change throughout the day as the sun moves across the sky. There are high-level windows, as indicated on this image to the bottom left, along the southern flank wall to the front that fronts onto the existing car park site. It is, however, noted that these windows appear to be obscure glazed and blocked by curtains and significantly overshadowed already by the existing roof overhang, as you can see on this figure here. As such, it is not considered that the level of change in light available to these windows as it changes throughout the day would cause detriment to the functioning or the amenity of the church, particularly as the amenity space to the front passes. In terms of the church fire exit, there are 2 points of exit from the church premises that could be used in the event of a fire. One is located along the side boundary that borders the application site, and one to the front. It is acknowledged that the proposed development would be in close proximity to the side entrance to the church. However, a footpath of between 1.35 and 1.45 meters in width would remain, allowing safe access out from the church grounds onto either Oxford Road or the car park space in the event of a fire or even during the normal operation. The width of this footpath would exceed the minimum requirements for passages as set out in the building regulations, and it is therefore considered to be sufficient for safe use. Furthermore, the access to the front would be uninterrupted. The community garden is found directly to the north of the application site. It is therefore acknowledged that there would be some overshadowing to the space, which is inevitable where buildings are constructed to the south of amenity spaces. When assessed on the BRE test date, which is the spring equinox, the results show that the area would receive direct sunlight at just 1% below the BRE recommendation. This is obviously a very marginal transgression, and sunlight levels would increase as the sun rises in the sky. This is demonstrated by additional analysis, which was carried out and shows that this site passes the BRE test just 1 day after the spring equinox. The sunlight to the space would inevitably increase as the spring and summer months progress, and the summer solstice as the summer months progress. Therefore, it is considered that this space would not be detrimentally harmed by the proposal, and on balance, the impact is considered acceptable. The proposal is considered to be consistent with the aims of the relevant adopted policies and documents of the local plan, the relevant supplementary planning guidance, the national policy planning framework, and emerging planning policy documents. It is therefore recommended that planning permission be granted, subject to conditions and appropriate planning obligations. I now draw your attention to the briefing notes, which set out minor amendments to the recommendation, conditions, the Section 106 agreement, and reports additional representations received after the publication of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Wait. Do you want to remove the item from the screen?
Yes, I'll bear with me 1 second. There we go.
Okay, so we have two objectors who have agreed to share the time, Janine Arnold and Hugh Comfort. So I don't know who wants to go first, but I'm happy for either one to suggest. Hugh?
Happy for Janine to go first.
It's Janine Andre.
Janine Andre, sorry, apologies for the mispronunciation. Madam, you have 1.5 minutes, so if you want to open up your screen.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. I would kindly ask the planning committee to consider the church's concerns very seriously. The 4 car parking spaces in Arden Road car park granted under the deed of variation for giving up the church's parking spaces where the community garden is now situated. Funerals, weddings, etc. will not be able to take place due to no parking facilities. The fire escape leads onto Arden Road car park, and development will leave no fire escape for the church, especially during construction. There are about 120 parishioners, many of which are vulnerable and handicapped, who are not fast on their feet, so this exit is necessary. There will be a loss of light to the church building and overshadowing of the garden and trees. The planned development will impact the church and the community, as no car parking facilities will result in the loss of attendance, especially during development, and this could affect their mental health. The church will be dwarfed and overlooked, as the proposed development is too tall and will result in a lack of privacy to the church. The car park is not big enough for the proposed development. The planning document is incorrect, as the proposed development will not improve the look of the area. On the contrary, the car park is very utilised and is always full during the day and into the night. The planned development is not for social tenants but private. Matters weighed have not taken into account the full picture. The planned document is flawed in several areas.
Madam, that's it. That's your time up. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm finished.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Comerford?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. The Five Roads Forum, which includes Arden Road, has been promoting community living and balanced development for more than 20 years. This area has seen a lot of building in recent years, and much of it is positioned to the borough. Of late, sadly, there has been an increase in the type of development that seems to disregard those things that would be more acceptable to local residents and useful to home seekers. Looking specifically at the Arden Road proposal, its height and its bulk are dramatically out of keeping with the buildings around it, including the church next door and the listed fire station next door but one. Lying to the south of the Five Roads, it will cast a shadow over its neighbours, particularly the residents of Arden Road and the Oasis Garden. Even the lighting consultation report commissioned by the developer concedes this. The green corridor along Uxbridge Road will be affected, as this building will block views of greenery and spoil the effect of the church and the fire station, both of which are well set back from the road. It seems likely that a much-loved planter in Arden Road will also be lost. Loss of a car park which is full most evenings with very helpful spaces for elderly worshippers rides roughshod over the existing community life. The Ealing Civic Society comments that there is already an oversupply of 1- and 2-bedroom flats, but a need for 3-bedroom family homes. Alas, this development has no 3-bedroom flats, they're nearly all 1. Is this really the development that's needed? Could something less bulky, less damaging, more appropriate be considered? I would urge the councillors to reject this proposal.
Thank you very much. For the applicant, we have Melissa Dowler. Melissa?
Hi.
Madam, you have three minutes.
Brilliant. Shall I start now?
Yeah, do you want to, are you on the phone or do you have a camera?
Sorry, my internet connection is not very good, so I'm not going to turn my camera on.
That's fine then.
I want you to be able to hear me clearly.
So you have 3 minutes.
So the site has good access to local transport and amenities, which makes it an ideal location for a sustainable new mixed development, which will really help Ealing Council to aim to provide more than 1,000 genuinely affordable new homes by March 2020. The proposed development comprises 29 new homes and a commercial space in a single block, which steps in height from 8 to 6 to 4 stories in response to the site's context. The proposals also comprise a car park providing 9 parking spaces, as well as a roof terrace on the 4th floor, in addition to improvements to the public realm at street level. The proposed development will be a landmark development for the council, being the first passive house standard building to be brought forward at a time when we are trying to address the climate emergency. The proposed palette of the new buildings has been informed by visits to the site, as well as by a character study of the local area, and is characterized by horizontal bands of brickwork. 3 types of brickwork are proposed to create the horizontal banding, including a special glazed brick around the base of the building, below windows and to balcony edges. The consultation process has involved engagement with local residents, key stakeholders, groups, including the Five Roads Community Forum and the Ealing National Spiritualist Church, and local councillors and ward members. Invitation letters were sent to over 500 properties, online and in-print adverts were issued, and a project website was set up to share the proposals with the community and encourage feedback and participation. 2 online Q&A events were held in addition to further events with the local church and the Five Roads Community Forum. The applicant and design team listened to the feedback that was received and made several significant changes to the design as a result, including reducing the building height, adjusting the massing, and amending the fire strategy to consider the evacuation of the adjacent church and changes to the landscape design. The design team has worked closely with a daylight and sunlight consultant to help minimize the impact of the proposals on the neighboring properties and spaces. The proposed massing steps down towards the Oasis Community Garden, and BRE testing shows the garden has only a 1% below the BRE guide test threshold, which is a marginal transgression at best, at worst, and sunlight levels will increase during the day as the sun rises. In conclusion, given the site represents an underutilized land source in a prominent position in the Ealing Metropolitan Town Centre, the submitted proposals will help to provide much needed, genuinely affordable housing and constitute an exemplary and highly sustainable modern development. That's me.
Thank you very much. We have Ward Councillor, Councillor Kumar. You have 5 minutes as normal, so over to you.
Okay, thank you. The current Arden Road car park is one of the best used in the borough, producing a profitable revenue for the council. The development will take away much needed parking space in an area full of hospitality, venues and businesses. It is important to note surrounding streets are CPZ and is an area where there is already insufficient parking. This is a much needed local amenity in a busy area with customers and visitors spending to boost the local economy. It will most definitely have a huge impact on local businesses. The development is too dense and way above the recommended density. It is not a designated development site for Ealing, so plans are in contravention to the Ealing local and neighbourhood plan. The height will affect the light and privacy to local buildings, such as Green, as I call it, Derwent House, right opposite the car park. The plants, greenery and pergola are a feature to offset pollution. Traffic is on the increase and pollution rising. With the new LTNs in place, all the traffic is funneled down the Uxbridge Road. The noise and air quality risk from Uxbridge Road, the green corridor that helps mitigate pollution from vehicles, will be lost. The loss of light is also below the minimum acceptable thresholds as shown in the consultant's report. Properties in Arden Road will be overlooked, and most importantly, especially to this close-knit community, is the issue of the Desert to Oasis project we also helped fund from the Ward Forum budget. It was a sight for sore eyes when I first saw the plans for the Oasis garden and supported them all the way to the amazing garden it is now. Postmen, workers on their break, and locals use this beautiful garden to have their lunch or just relax under the sun. A true oasis and community asset built up by local people using their own time and money. The vision set out by the consultant for the garden seizes it to be a community garden. The high build as proposed will overshadow the garden, and loss of sunlight will destroy the mature, beautiful place it is. I am much saddened by this. There is also no provision in the plans for deliveries or service vehicle parking. Waste collection lorries already have problems getting through the very narrow Arden Road as it is. A site visit would have rarely demonstrated the issue. 29 flats will be built to add to the problem. This development is also viewed as a conflict of interest as the council is seeking approval from itself. The scheme won't solve Ealing's housing crisis. The housing provided on this development is not family housing and more likely to attract investors undermining the community. There are only 21 bed flats and 8 tiny 2-beds. The planned development is not for affordable homes, but will be sold to private developers. Lack of proper consultation. Even the contact list had some residents on it who've left over 10 years ago. It was felt that any answer given on the consultation would have looked as though the responder agreed with the development. Crucially, the development will have a severe impact on the Ealing Spiritual Church right next to the car park. 4 car parking spaces in Arden Road car park granted under the deed of various will be offered. This was granted by the church to the church by the council. The fire escape comes onto Arden Road car park and the development will leave no fire escape for the church. There is a large parishioners, vulnerable, handicapped community who are not on their feet, so fire escape is essential. Funerals, weddings will not take place due to no parking facilities. The parking for the hearse and dignity surrounding a funeral will be so affected. The church will be impaired on its impact on the community as no car parking facilities will result in loss of attendance, especially during development. The building is too tall and will result in the lack of privacy to the church. The church has many who come from far and near with mental health and other issues and are continuously helped by the church community. They're going to struggle. My residents and I are not against development and understand housing is needed, but the scale of this is questionable. The consultation period was short and sudden and needs to be reviewed in proper consultation with the local community. I would strongly urge the committee to refuse this application and come back with an acceptable proposal to include a site visit. Please, please consider this carefully based on all that has been said. Thank you.
Thank you. Fine. Just Wade, would you want to come back and just pick up any clear issues which are outlined, such as fire escape or?
Yes, sure, no problem. So there's a few items I picked up during the responses. And the first was, I suppose we can talk about, is the fire escape. The fire escape won't be blocked. I was demonstrated in my presentation that the building has been set back away from the shared side boundary with a footpath that's existing would be retained, I think actually improved by the landscaping plan, but that the width of that footpath would be sufficient for wheelchair users and regular users to enter and exit the site from the side entrance, but not to mention that the front entrance would remain completely unaffected in any case. In terms of the loss of the 4 parkings as granted by a deed of variation, this has come up in the objections received after the publication of the report. I have been in discussions with the council's housing department, who have confirmed that while this is a legal issue and not necessarily a planning consideration, they are in negotiations with the church regarding the possible reprovision of those parking spaces. The exact arrangements are not clear at this stage, as those legal discussions are ongoing. In terms of the parking spaces in general, I know the church is concerned about the functioning of the church when there's going to be a reduction in parking spaces. But just a few things to point out is that the 9 spaces being proposed as part of this proposal are not private parking spaces. They will remain as public parking spaces. And so they wouldn't be removing the parking altogether, although I do acknowledge that is a reduction in the number. In terms of an oversupply of 1 and 2 bedroom homes, I think there might be a bit of a misunderstanding. It's not that there's an oversupply. Yes, I do acknowledge that there is a need for 3 bedroom units, but that's not to say that there's no need for 1 and 2 beds either. And the development is not only 1 bedroom apartments, it's a mix of 1 and 2s. It was considered that this mix is appropriate for its town centre location. And some of the other schemes brought forward as part of this package of works do provide a higher proportion of 3-bed units. In terms of servicing and delivery, the applicant has submitted details on both servicing and delivery, as well as refuse collection, which is proposed from Arden Road. There was certain elements of the servicing and delivery plan that needed to be secured, and so therefore we've recommended an appropriate condition to secure these arrangements prior to commencement. I think that covered most of the concerns, but if I've left anything out, please let me know.
That's fine. I just needed our legal advisor, Jackie Adams, to just talk through this issue raised by Councillor Kumar around conflict of interest. I mean, the planning committee is independent and we do have applications from the council. So could you just explain the process? Because all of these items are from Ealing Council. So Jackie.
Sorry, I'm just unmuting myself.
Yes, you're unmuted. Yes.
Yes, there isn't a conflict as such. It is the case that this is an application by the council, but that doesn't give rise to a conflict in terms of planning committee making the decision. All that is important, as is the case on every application, is that the committee views this purely on its planning merits and in accordance with the usual requirements to have regard to planning policy and other material planning considerations, but it isn't in and of itself a conflict.
Okay. Councillor Ball, you indicated you wanted to come in on this point.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The thing that worried me about the issue about potential conflict of interest was on page 27 of 59. It's talking about the sorry, Ella, we're in a meeting. It's talking about the affordable housing requirement, the importance of maximising affordable housing. But then it says the proposal should therefore be strongly supported by the council and weigh heavily in the positive determination of this application. I've just wondered if we could have, Jackie checking that wording is okay, because it does seem to be, well, I would question whether it's crossing the line into saying that the fact that this is important for the council's targets should be weighing heavily in the positive determination of it. Could we just have clarification on that point, please, Chair?
Jackie?
Yes, I agree that what this shouldn't be interpreted as saying is that because the council has a housing target, therefore you should therefore give it permission. You need to consider it in the way that you consider all applications, which is that this is an application that provides housing for which there is a housing policy to which you need to have regard and give the appropriate weight to it. But I to the extent that this might be interpreted as anything more, then I agree it shouldn't be. It should just be simply the committee needs to have regard to its housing policies, which do obviously support the maximisation of affordable housing.
Thank you.
Okay. Now that we've covered some of these issues, I'm looking for raised hands. Councillor Ray Wall, I've got your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I've got a bit of a just similar kind of legal question for Jackie, really. It's about the reports and the level of how these reports are together or not together in terms of the affordable housing, because each report has, it seems to be linked in terms of affordable housing. So the question really is, if we were to pass this one and turn all the others down, we wouldn't get the required level of what I would call genuinely affordable housing. But we're sold throughout that all 6 are slightly linked in terms of affordable housing. Can we have a steer on the legality of all this? Because it looks like you either take all 6 or you don't take any, or the mix doesn't work if you don't take all 6. So can I have a steer on that, please?
Yes, the schemes are linked in the sense that they are part of a package from from housing's point of view, but from a purely planning perspective, they are 6 separate applications. And so you need to look at them as standalone schemes, because you're quite right, they aren't interlinked in any strict planning sense. The introduction is just by way of context in terms of all the schemes that are before you at the moment, and that, but you need to be satisfied that each stands on its own merits.
Okay, sorry, Ray, do you want to come back?
Yeah, my point is about levels of affordable housing. So if we passed the first one this evening, Arden Road, and we didn't pass any of the others, we wouldn't be getting the levels of affordable housing are built across the 6 schemes, not each individual scheme. And if we're going to take them individually, we shouldn't be really taking into account the levels of affordability of them all combined, because that's what we're being shown. It's in the reports for each one, and I don't accept that, because we could turn all the next 5 down and we'd end up with one scheme with not giving us the correct levels of affordability, and forevermore we could be like that.
But Councillor Ward, you are aware that most of them, or I think all of them, meet the 50% mark.
No, yes, but if you have the 50% or whatever, you divide that up into London affordable, London living rent, etc. You get that, take the portion of affordable housing and you chop it up, and we'd get some proper, what I'd call proper, almost social rent housing. So we're not in this case. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's okay. That you just have to make up your mind on this scheme in particular, but some of the others, again, that's a choice. So yes, you'd have to make up your mind on each individual scheme. Councillor Milliken.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, I was going to make a similar point, and page 28 of 59 at the top there, when considered as a whole with the 5 other sites that form part of this, Ealing Council housing delivery, the range of housing types is considered to be appropriate. So I won't labour that point. But the new point I wanted to raise, or as a question I wanted to raise, I'm on page 3 of 59, or 19 of 332, at the bottom of the page. It says a balanced judgment has been made as to the scale of any harm to the nearby Ealing Green Conservation Area and locally listed fire station. It is considered that any harm would be less than substantial, in quotes, upon the heritage significance. Could I ask what criteria are used by the officers when they were making this balanced judgment?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Milliken. I'll take Councillor Woodruff next, and then we'll go to the officer to answer. Councillor Woodruff.
It was more or less the same point that Councillor Wall was making. Just the reverse is, if we turn down one of these, does that affect the whole scheme, and or do we have to rewrite the figures? I think it was the way I was going to ask it.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that. So, who's going to answer that? Wade.
I can answer the impact on the heritage assets.
Yep.
So as part of any application that we presented with, when there are local heritage or statutory listed heritage assets, we need to take those into account and any impact they might have on the special characteristics of those heritage assets. And in my assessment of the non-designated, which is the locally heritage asset of the fire station, I presented in my report the special characteristics of the fire station, and then demonstrated that the proposal would not impact on those special characteristics, which are concentrated towards the front of the site. And the site wouldn't be blocked from view or developed on or impacted in those sense. And yes, with the development at the car park site, there may be some views of the church that would be obscured, but they'll be very marginal. It'll only be views from the one side of the road, and only for a short period of time as you approach the fire station. And it was for these reasons I felt, in accordance with the wording of the NPPF, which states that if the harm is less than substantial, then a balanced judgment needs to be made, and therefore the wording of my reports reflects the wording of the NPPF, and the assessment reflects the approach that you need to take to these. In terms of the conservation area, my assessment was based on the fact that the conservation area is quite far away from the sites. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, 70 or 100 meters away, and views of the proposal would be very limited from within the conservation area, therefore having a, inverted commas, less than substantial impact. And in terms of the providing affordable across the 6 sites, yes, these are standalone applications, I acknowledge that, but it is part of an approved package of works approved by the Housing Department as a program of works. And so there are, as far as I understand, there are some implications if taking one side out, you know, if you had to approve half and refuse the other half, for instance, just an example. But yes, it's not, it is true to say that they are standalone applications. It's just I needed to provide the context because it's not the first time that we've split the tenure across different buildings. It's not a completely unusual situation. And that's what they've done in this case. They've obviously taken their budget and they've identified the sites to bring forward, and they've developed what the Housing Department considers the most or the best way to provide the highest level of housing, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Could you take your hands down if you're not, Councillor Woodruff, Councillor Ball, Councillor Rabel, unless you raised it again. Councillor D. Martin.
Yes, again.
Councillor Martin, you're muted. Councillor Martin, can you hear me? Okay, I'll go to Councillor Miriam Rice.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So I'd just like to go back to a good point that the Councillor Kumar's made about site visits. There's something I'm just finding actually going through the report is that how much I would actually benefit from a site visit. So now my point on this particular application is that there have been a lot of concerns raised about the community garden. So I would just like some reassurance for myself and also for those who have been so wonderful at actually looking after the community garden, that this development won't actually encroach upon the garden itself in terms of the land, in terms of the access, in terms of the actual enjoyment of the garden. I'm just thinking in terms of it's something that we're very much focusing on at the moment, is trying to encourage people to be involved with voluntary work in looking after our parks and green spaces. And so it does actually seem like a good idea to, when people have actually made that commitment, to ensure that we don't actually damage them around in any way and keep them interested and keep them involved. And so I just hope that we're not actually making any further encroachment on the garden. So if I can just perhaps, if there is someone who has actually been there who could actually expand on that a little bit further, please. Thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
Sorry, I was pressing the wrong button. Just a quick similar question. Some of the objections have mentioned disruption to the green corridor. I just asked the officer to comment on that and if that is the case. Okay,
that's fine. Wade, do you want to do the green corridor? And
I can answer both if that's appropriate.
Yep.
So in terms of the Oasis Community Garden, that is to be retained as part of the proposal. It's not going to be developed over and the access won't be impeded. So I can provide reassurance in that sense. In terms of the green corridor, I'm assuming you're referring to the building line being forward in comparison to those to the east, which is the church and the fire station, who are a lot further set back from the road. But the building line does respect that to the west and would be aligned with those properties to the west. In terms of a loss of a green corridor, there's along the front of the site, there's only one small tree that is to be removed. And however, there's a comprehensive landscaping plan as part of the proposal that would provide a lot more green space onto the site than is existing. So I hope that answers the
I've
question.
got Councillor Mahmood and then Councillor Wall. Councillor Milliken, have you got your hand up again, or is it from the previous one? Councillor Mahmood?
Yes, my hand is up again. I have a new question.
All right, I'll come back to you then in a minute. So Councillor Mahmood, then Wall, and then Councillor
Thank you, Chair. I would just wanted to make one point, which is a very growing concern for the church next door to this proposed development, the Ealing Spiritual Church. I completely understand, Chair. We should be proud of the borough of diversity and borough of a different faith. So I think what we need to do it in terms of their parking options, I think we need to actively seeking the solution. As thankfully, I've got a couple of concerns, but before the meeting, Case Officer Wade explained me a couple of things which I have clear in my mind in terms of access to the church from the Oxbridge Road, and it could be clear and it will not be affected by this development. I just wanted to need more clarification on that. And second thing is in terms of worship, the parking designated place for worshipper is a main and important thing. Whatever we are deciding today about this application, but I think what we ought to do is to work closely with the church to find a proper solution of the parking, either within this development, around the church, but close to the church. That's I just wanted to get assurance on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Milliken, you're next.
Thank you. Yes, to be honest with you, I was going to ask about the parking, because there is so really just to pick up on the last point there, that there is a deed of variations, I understand it, where they're guaranteed a number of spaces, and I'm afraid the officer didn't really give a very strong answer there when he responded earlier. So there clearly is an issue for parking, and I don't know how deep the pockets are of the church, the spiritualist church next door, but presumably they could take the council to court, presumably, to ensure that they maintain those spaces.
Councillor Milliken, you're aware that's not a planning issue as such.
No, I understand, and Jackie did explain that, but nevertheless, it weighs in the back of one's mind.
Well, it shouldn't, Councillor Milliken. You're on the planning committee. It's not something that you should take into consideration.
All right, I take your advice. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Wall.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, you're quite correct on that point. Two questions really. One is about the carbon offset, and I think it's a section. It's a section 106 payment. It's just why can't we actually get to the 0 point? If you can explain why we can't do that, because I do. If we can't, what's the point of these targets? And the second one is my usual one is pepper potting, and in terms of this, how are the entrances and how the homes distributed around the site?
Okay, I think I'll go to Wade over this one issue, and if you want to cover anything else around how the flats would be sort of distributed in terms of shared ownership and private.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so which one should I answer first? I suppose the one at the top of my mind is the energy efficiency of the building. We consult with our energy officer on all these schemes, who provides us with comprehensive comments regarding the energy strategy of any scheme. Sorry, my screen has just gone blank. Can you also hear me?
Yes, yeah. We can.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry, I'm not sure what's happened with my screen. But anyway, those comments from our energy officer were actually quite strongly in favor of the proposal. They considered very green for their scale and for their nature. Just bear with me 1 second while I try to reopen the screen. And so we were satisfied with the energy strategy based on those very favorable comments, and of course the relevant contributions to monitor the energy monitoring. In terms of the parking, I know it's not a planning consideration, but as I did say, it is an ongoing discussion. It's not something that's being ignored. In terms of pepper potting of the units, I got off the phone with the housing department earlier today when we discussed this. I would ask Kishore if you wouldn't mind just providing a bit more light on that. But was there anything else I've forgotten?
I don't think that the answer to the carbon was the answer to my question. If someone's proud of it, that's not the answer. The question is why haven't we got to zero?
It's obviously not possible at the site. I mean, they've done quite a comprehensive strategy, and they've reduced the carbon footprint of the building as far as practically possible.
Sorry, Wade. It's not obvious to me that it's not possible, and I'd like to know why it's not possible.
That would need specialist input, I'm afraid. As a planner, I'm not a specialist energy engineer, but that's why we rely on comments from our energy officer.
Councillor Ward, I think that's as far as we're going to go on that.
Well, Chair, I just think that if we're going to put these things in reports, and we have a planning committee, we need to be able to answer these questions. It's not the first time this has been in reports. I mean, we must know why we can't get to zero. What are the factors that stop us getting to zero? And remember, it's our building at the end of the day. We should be striving to get to zero.
Okay, point taken. I think I've got 3 hands up still. Raise your hand down now. Yes. Councillor Ball, is that a new hand?
Yes, it is, Chair.
Okay, I mean, this is the first item, so you can take as long as you want, but it is going to be a long night if we take an hour for every item.
Sorry to interrupt, Chair. I didn't get the pepper potting answer.
Ah, okay, he'll come back to that in a minute. So, Councillor Ball.
Yeah, shared ownership isn't considered to be a genuinely affordable product tenure by this council. So I am concerned that we've got a report which is talking in terms of affordability. Well, I mean, there's a sentence in it, a really strange sentence. Shared ownership housing is considered to be an intermediate product in terms of affordable housing, but it's still considered as affordable. This is the thing I brought up at the planning training. We continually have this confusion in our reports about which units are actually going towards the council's, the administration's target for genuinely affordable units and which aren't. But
Councillor
what we have on this site,
you're aware of the national. Come on, Councillor Ball. You're more intelligent than that. You know what the national picture is, and you know what Ealing is trying to do in terms of genuinely affordable. And shared ownership
I do.
nationally is counted as an affordable product. So please, you know the differentiation, and I don't expect you to play games on that, please.
No, Chair, I'm not playing games. The point I'm making is that I know what the national definition is, and I know what Ealing's definition is. So why don't Ealing's reports go by Ealing's definition? Because we constantly have this thing where we have tenures in our reports which claim to be affordable when they don't actually meet the tenure that the rest of Ealing Council determines to be affordable. I think it's confusing, and where you have applications like this where there is no genuinely affordable on the site, it is a concern.
Councillor Ball, you are well aware that planning it has to follow national London plan and the national plan in terms of our official policies, and therefore shared ownership under that scheme is counted as intermediate affordable, and we have to follow that. Though it's plan-led system, and we have to follow that. Locally, we want more generally affordable homes, so that's why we have our own sort of definition, but it's not a legal definition in that sense. Nationally, we have to follow that in terms of planning. So we've had this debate before on other committees, and you're aware of that. So we'll leave it at that. Wait, do you want to go back to the pepper potting?
Yes, I was going to ask Kishore to please explain, but is Kishore there?
Yes, I am here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could you just give us an input on how the structure is going to be on this one site?
No, sure, Councillor Munro. Thank you, Chair and the Planning Committee. Firstly, if I can explain how the management of the blocks works, as the committee would be aware of. Normally, for insurance purposes, for management purposes, they are led by course, and our pepper potting normally is more mixed on larger homes, and these are smaller homes, smaller sites. So essentially, we have one block serviced by one core. So we have from first to fourth floor shared ownership, as we proposed currently, and from 5 to 8, we have private sale.
But they share all the facilities, lifts and everything is shared. Yes.
Exactly. Nothing.
One core.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, everybody has access to everything on the site, including the roof terrace, green roof, and the landscaping, and all the facilities on the site. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, can I come in?
Yeah, Councillor Wall.
Sorry, I don't get why now we've gone from poor doors to poor floors. What's going on here? I don't get this insurance issue or whatever. What is it that's making us have to split the tenures into different floors? I mean, please explain to me.
So when it comes to insurance, the insurance varies with the type of tenure of the block and the responsibility for the block. Whereas with private sale, we do not normally have responsibility for a number of things. With shared ownership, we do. Although on this block, it will not have significant differences in terms of insurance. As you say, it is something that we could look at to mix it differently. However, from sales point of view, this is something we further need to assess. At the moment, the proposal is based on floors.
So it's about sales value more than anything else. Is that what you're talking about here?
I'm not sure.
Not.
Are you not saying that they're more valuable the higher up you go, are you?
No, not really. No, basically they're all valued at the same valuation at the moment. It's not about valuation; it's about maintaining the separation for insurance purposes and management purposes. Really,
there wasn't an insurance problem on this one.
No, there wasn't. I don't. That's what you said. So, is it possible, Mr. Pereira, that we could mix it up and without any issue, or do you think that's possible?
It is possible on this particular block where we'll have to just assess that insurance impact in more detail. As I've said, the impact would be less on a scheme like this. However, we need to assess that and look at that, and we'd be happy to accept a condition on the basis.
Okay. So, is the committee happy if there's a condition and they have to come back to the chair to tell me why we can't have it mixed up? If we can have it mixed up, we will have it mixed up. Is that acceptable to committee, Councillor Wall?
Did you ask me, Chair?
Well, I'm asking the committee, but you indicated this was an issue that was important to you. So if we were to put a condition in and they'd have to come back to the chair with rational reasons why this couldn't happen, and if it can happen, it should happen.
Yeah, and not just purely financial reasons.
That's right.
My point, my wider point is, if we don't do it ourselves with our own company, why the hell would we try and get other people to do it?
Absolutely agree, Councillor Wall. So we're going to be putting in a condition which says you need to come back to us to justify why it can't be pepper potted round the scheme. Yes, okay? Are you happy to accept that condition, Councillor Pereira?
Can I suggest that we what we could obviously a number of these schemes obviously have section 106s associated with them, so we can actually obviously confirm the arrangements of the affordable within the block as part of that agreement. So what we could do is make sure that we advise you of what what we actually do when we get to that stage if the recommendation is approved. So we can make a note to liaise with you.
I think that would work. Jackie, you raised your hand. Can you? Maybe I've said something wrong.
No, it's just simply I was just going to support what Alex was saying. I was going to say the same, that I think it would be quite difficult to draft a condition that would work, but I agree. I think Alex's idea is a good one, that we address that through the way in which the 106 is negotiated, and that can be done following consultation with yourself.
All right. Thank you for that. It's 8:10, so I'm intending to move to the vote, because I think we've had a debate as well as questions and whatever, unless somebody strongly feels that they still have something to say, because at this rate we'll be here till 1 o'clock.
Sure, just a quick assurance, the developers and the management will be working closely with the church in terms of seeking solution about the parking.
Yes,
I think we've had that.
साले फारग होते हैं कसम से
Shabazz, Councillor Hammond, Shabazz, your thing is on, please. Okay. So I'm going to move to the vote.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm ready to vote.
Yes, Councillor Hammond, this is a different way of voting. Do you know? Can you see where it says participants? You can click on that, and you can see at the bottom of that list of people there is a raise hand, a yes, and a no. So a yes means you're accepting, you want to support the application. A no means you're not. Katie, can you remind me? And a raised hand is abstention. Is that right?
My question is still there.
Sorry, Katie, is that correct? Just
yes,
this is the first time I'm doing it.
Yep, so you would need to click on the green yes button if you wish to agree with the application. Click on the red no button if you're against it, and if you raise your hand if you wish to abstain. Thank you.
Okay, so can I ask people to vote now, please?
Chair, I can't see the hand, so can I just see participant, chat, shared screen, and
at the bottom, just click on the participants one. Click on that.
No, I have a privacy.
No, participants. Can you see that? Can you click on that one?
No, Chair. I'm sorry about that. It's gone now. But I can. Can I?
Chair.
Yes.
Chair. Maybe you can verbalise his vote.
Yeah. You just say, do you accept it?
Yes, I accept.
You support the application. Okay.
Chair, yes, I'm supporting, Chair.
Okay. So the rest of you, have you voted? Yeah, I can see a number of people voting. Councillor Milliken, you were in and out. Can you vote? That's fine. So Katie, can you see all the different? Councillor Ahmed is there. So I get one no and the rest yes.
Yep. So
Councillor Ball, you haven't voted, so you're abstaining. Is that right? You've not raised your hand though.
No, I pressed no. Are you not seeing that?
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Initially, I didn't see anything.
I can see. So we have, so including Councillor Ahmed, there are 11 yeses, and I have 2 against, which is Councillor Milliken and Councillor Ball.
Okay, so item 1 is carried. For item 2, because of my indication that I wouldn't take part, I've asked Councillor Ray Wall to chair this item. So Councillor Wall, I'll keep quiet. I won't say anything, and I'm going to turn off my camera and I'm going to go mute for this item. So could you please chair, Councillor Wall?
Yes, yeah, I can do. Not that I know who's speaking or anything about this in terms of, apart from reading the papers. So I'll ask Katie to guide me in terms of who's speaking and who's indicated to speak. So who is the officer presenting this?
Sean. Yeah, if you guys can hear me.
Yes, if you can present and share your screen.
Yep, no problem. Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yep, perfect. Okay, so this is the second application of the 6 package sites. This is at Wood End Library, which is Witton Avenue West in Greenford. So the proposed development is for 11 residential homes, comprising a mixture of 1-bed and 2-bed units, as well as community facility to be used as a library. And this replaces an existing single-storey library on the site. So the development is located on the northern side of Witton Avenue in Greenford, as mentioned at the start. Comprises a single-storey community facility at present. The surrounding area is predominantly 2-storey dwelling houses, a mixture of semi-detached mostly semi-detached in the area, with some terraces. However, it is noted that Oldfield Circus, which is just south of the site, it's a 3-storey mixture comprising of ground floor commercial and upper floor residential. The nearest bus stops are on Witton Avenue and Oldfield Circus. The nearest underground station is Sudbury Hill, and the nearest national rail is Northolt Park, all indicated on this map. So there are a few views of the site. This is the first one. These are all taken from Google Maps, unless said otherwise. So this is from Witton Avenue looking north to show the single-storey library, which is on the left, adjacent to Witton Court, which is 3-storey residential, as well as the access road to the school adjacent to the site, which is just where these black railings are. So this is a site photo taken from the applicant. This is from the rear of the site. So the library is this building on the left. And then you're looking towards Witton Avenue and the 4-storey Palmer Court, which is opposite the application site, which is located on the corner of Witton Avenue and Oldfield Circus. And then the final view is the aerial view taken from Google Maps, which is the site is indicated by the red pin, with Wood End Infant School to the rear, which is this curved building. And then you can see the 2-storey residential in the area, as well as the 3-storey buildings along Oldfield Circus, where it says the office and Vogue Ladies and City Gents. So there are 2 aspects to this proposed development. The first bit is the community facility, which is the light blue at the front. And then the second aspect is the colourful sections at the back to do with residential. Residential will be on ground first, second and third, so in total over 4 floors. So started with the community facility. In July 2019, Ealing Council's Cabinet approved the Ealing Library Strategy. So on page 15 of this document, it was recommended for Wood End Library to relocate to other community services in the locality. This was justified due to there being 3 libraries in the Northolt area. These are Northolt Library, which is the main town centre library, Northolt Leisure Library, which is located within the Northolt Leisure Centre, and Wood End Library, which is the application site. Of the 3 libraries in the locality, Wood End, this one has the lowest footfall. The proposal for this site includes a community facility, so the library at the front, which is use class F1, which is noted in one of the conditions that it's restricted to use class F1. Learning and non-residential use is the terminology for that use class. Ealing Council are the applicant for the site and will seek a partner to operate a community managed library in the new building. However, due to the COVID-19 restrictions, Ealing Council are yet to develop an approach to secure a community partner. I have been informed by our libraries team that once the lockdowns have been eased, Ealing Council's library teams will engage with local community to find a community partner to run the facility as a community managed library. So the second aspect is the residential, which comprises of 11 units, including 3 1-bed 2-person units and 8 2-bed 4-person units. All 11 units are London affordable rent, and all units are dual aspect, ensuring good quality living conditions. They all meet minimum sizes for unit size, bedroom size, and floor to ceiling height, whilst 9 units have access to private amenity space, and all 11 have access to the communal amenity space, which you can see in the diagram. So this is located to the eastern side of the entrances to the site. All units are M42 compliant. They're all accessible from the ground floor or via lift, with conditions recommended regarding sound insulation to ensure quality living conditions. So during consultation, which was done via site notice, as well as many internal and external consultations via email, there were 90 consultation responses received, raising a number of objections. The main issue was the closure of the library, with height of the proposed development, parking and disabled access the issues with the most responses. Other issues raised include lack of affordable housing, the density and impact on social infrastructure. So the closure of the library received the most representations. As noted earlier, the library strategy was approved in July 2019. During the construction of this development, the library will close. However, the library will open once complete, and Ealing Council have sought a community partner to run this as a community managed facility. During the construction, the libraries of Northolt Town Centre and Northolt Leisure Centre will be the nearest alternative libraries, with Northolt Leisure Centre located 0.9 miles away, which is equivalent to an 18-minute walk. Alternatively, the 395 bus connects Northolt Leisure Centre to the Wood End Library with a 3-minute walk between the bus stop and library on both sides. So that's indicated on the map on your screen. If you need me to go back to this map during comments, just let me know. So next consultation response was about height and bulk of the proposed development. The 4-storey development will be 1 storey higher than Witten Court, which is located next to the site, which we saw in the earlier photo. And it allows us stepping towards the 2-storey residential to the east. So it goes 4-storey this side, 3-storey next door, and then 2-storey residential. To the south of the site is Palmer Court, which is indicated by this white building, which is slightly grey, and which is a 4-storey residential development located on the opposite side of Witten Avenue West. The proposed development would be comparable in height to this existing building, and therefore it is in keeping with the character of this area in terms of height. To the west is 2-storey residential. However, the separation distance due to the access road to the school is considered sufficient to not subsume these neighbouring properties. Yep. So the proposed development would feature 1 accessible bay located in the existing parking bays near to the site, which is indicated in pink on this diagram. With financial contributions have been agreed, subject to section 106, for 2 accessible bays within the parking bays. There'll be 1 here, and there'll be another one subject to highways delivering this, which is Ealing Council Highways. And this is outlined in your briefing notes. Due to the site location opposite a road junction and near to the Pelican Crossing is the dotted line in front of the site, it is deemed that this is the nearest location for an accessible bay and would be available for both the community facility and residential component, and therefore is considered acceptable in this location. No car parking is proposed within the site itself, in line with Ealing Council and London Plan policies. And it is noted that there are 2 bus routes within 3 minutes of the site, and London Underground Station within a 17-minute walk, as mentioned earlier. So therefore, it's considered that the development will not give rise to undue harm to parking pressure in the area. It is noted that the area is not in a controlled parking zone. Therefore, there is no restrictions to the parking in the bays nearby the site. Nevertheless, it's not considered to be detrimental to the amenity of the existing residents. And then the next one is about disabled access, which had a few comments. So as stated before, there was be 1 accessible bay within the existing bays, and then the section 106 to put a 2nd bay in. The accessible parking will feature access via an existing pathway. So this is on the 2nd photo below. You can see there's a path leading to the main footpath between the parking bays, and this is where the accessible bay will be going. And so it means users would not have to walk on the green verge. Thus would provide a safe access point for new residents and users of the library. It is also noted that the flats would be M42 compliant, with access via the ground floor or via a lift in the lobby. There is also a 1-bedroom unit located entirely on the ground floor. The lift is proposed to be no less than 1100 millimetres by 1400 millimetres, in accordance with approved documents M, which is a building regulation document, and will also have clear area of 1500 metres, which directly outside the lift doors, which is suitable for wheelchairs. All stairs will be to approved documents M and K, both are building regulation documents, and so therefore they are suitable for ambulant disabled users. This therefore meets all Ealing and London policies regarding equality and accessibility for all. So to summarise, the site provides a replacement community facility on the site, which is to be used as a library and be community managed. The site provides 11 residential units, all 100% affordable, all 100% M42 compliant, and is complementary to the street scene surrounding developments. The scheme would maximise the use of the site and provide a development which meets the requirements of local and national policies. Therefore, the recommendation is to grant permission subject to conditions, and the Section 106 legal agreement with changes to that mentioned in the briefing notes included the rewording of condition 24 about cycle parking. And I think that's everything.
Okay, thank you, Sean. I'm presuming we've got an objector, Katie, and obviously
that's me. That's me.
Yeah.
Is that
we have Alison Jermack, and then we have Melissa Dowler on behalf of the applicant. Both will get 3 minutes.
Okay, so Alison, you obviously know you've got 3 minutes, and we will cut you off if you go straight over the 3 minutes. But yes, and there'll be a clock on the screen that I think you can see if you've got the screen up. But yeah, go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you. My name's Alison Jermack. I'm a teacher and a parent who's been living in Northolt for 13 years, and I'm speaking in opposition to the proposed demolition of Wood End Library. Wood End Library is one of 3 libraries in Northolt, located in Greenford, with a stock of 9,000 books, access to 6 public computers, and is popular with families, scout groups, and children from the local schools, Wood End Infant School, Wood End Academy, and Greenwood Primary School, all located within a 5-minute walk from the library. With regard to the change of use of the building from community facility to residential, the Planning Officer's report references Ealing Council's library strategy 2019 to 2023, in which the council has committed to ensure we maximise and grow our library services of providing books, as well as spaces and opportunities for reading, learning and creativity. The current size of Wood End Library and Children's Centre is 238 square metres. Voting this proposed redevelopment through tonight will result in the reduction of the size of the community facility to only 52 square metres, meaning that should a library be provided in this space, it will become the smallest library in Ealing, not much bigger than a large living room. Wood End Library and Children's Centre proposal is for a car-free development on a very busy A road, with 1 disabled parking space designated on a banking on the roadside using a current public 2-metre wide roadside parking area. We suggest that to place a disabled parking space on this busy road is unsafe and should be provided on site as specified in the new London plan at T6.1 G&H, with an on-site drop-off point for all deliveries that will inevitably result from a car-free new development, to be compliant with the Ealing Local Parking and Loading Plan 2019. If a disabled parking space is provided on the roadside, this will disadvantage any potential wheelchair-using disabled resident and therefore be contrary to the Equality Act 2010. As this is an application by Ealing Council, if passed, it would also potentially violate the public sector equality duty contained within Section 149 of the Equality Act by not advancing equality of opportunity between wheelchair-using disabled tenants, protected persons under the Act, and other members of the public, and being contravention to the Mayor of London's London Plan. Developments should always include parking provision for disabled people. I remind you of the Council's commitments in the future Ealing document to transform life chances for local people by protecting access to community services for all, to ensure that young people fulfil their full potential, and ask you to reject this planning application, or at the very least, to refer the proposal back to the applicant for a total redesign to include a larger library and off-road parking for deliveries and disabled people.
Thank you, Alison. I don't know what happened to the clock, but I think you've got slightly more than 3 minutes, but well, I'll have to allow the applicant now to just have slightly more than 3 minutes. So, Melissa, Katie, you ready? Sorry, I probably didn't ask you last time.
I'm ready, but I can't see any clock.
Yeah, Katie, are you ready with the clock?
Yeah, sorry, Chair. Just had to sort that out.
Melissa, if you go over by 10 or 15 seconds, that's okay, because that would be about the same that we had for the objector.
Okay, I'll wait for it to. I'll try to start it immediately anyway. Thank you.
Sorry, are you ready for me to start then?
I am. Melissa, are you ready?
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
I'll just share my screen now with the timer and then you can begin. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
The applicant is seeking to redevelop the Wood End Library site on Witton Avenue. The site, which currently provides a library and children's centre, was subject to a rigorous review process as part of the Future Ealing programme in 2018, which approved the principle of the redevelopment of the site to provide much needed affordable housing, as well as the reprovision of a community facility. The site represents an underutilised land resource in an established mixed-use area with a strong residential character and will assist Ealing in delivering on their aim to provide more than 1,000 genuinely affordable homes by March 2022. The proposed development comprises 11 new homes and a 52 square metre community facility in a single L-shaped block, which steps down in height from 4 stories to 3 to 2. The proposals also provide 258 square metres of amenity space and play space, which constitutes 23.5 square metres per unit and includes a public play space and garden in front of the proposed new development, a rear courtyard for residents with planters, seating and allotment, and private terraces and balconies. The proposed residential accommodation will be 100% affordable at London affordable rent to help provide a much needed, genuinely affordable housing. This proposal, like the last, will be a landmark in sustainable design for the borough and will be designed to Passive House standards to help address the climate emergency. The proposed material palette has been informed by visits to the site as well as by a character study of the local area. 3 brick types are proposed to create the horizontal banding, including a special glazed brick to celebrate the entrances and key locations around the building. The consultation process has involved engagement with local residents, key stakeholder groups, including Wood End Infant School and Greenwood Primary School, and local councillors and ward members. Invitation letters were sent to more than 200 properties, online and in-print adverts were issued. 2 online Q&A events were held in addition to further meetings with Wood End Infant School and Greenwood Primary School. The applicant and design team listened to the feedback that was received and made several changes to the design as a result, including amendments to the boundary treatments and landscape design. In conclusion, given the site represents an underutilised land resource in an established mixed-use area with a strong residential characteristics, the submitted proposals will help to provide a community facility as well as much needed genuinely affordable housing and constitute an exemplary and highly sustainable modern development. That's me done.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Melissa. Okay, so John, do you want to come back on anything the objector has said? So about, I know, just to be clear, from the briefing notes, and the objector probably might not have known this, but we've put an extra disabled parking bay in, so there's 2, but it's more about the provision, I think, i.e. getting from the road and the main road to the site itself. A size of library was another one I picked up, but is there anything you want to come back on, Sean?
Yeah, so in terms of the provision for disabled parking, it has been agreed by the applicant that through a section 106 that the highways will create 2 parking spaces for disabled users. So that will be done through the section 106. So only one is shown on the plans because that's what was submitted, but a second one will also be in the site, and it'll be down to the transport department on how they spend that money and where that goes, but it will be in a roughly similar location to the one proposed on the plans. So I did show, I'm going to just share my screen again, if that's okay. Just so you can see the footpath to the, sorry. So I'm just trying to get the right screen up.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see where this footpath is here. This will be where the first disabled parking bay will be. So it allows them any users to not have to go across the green verge to ensure their safety. Of course, the second one is down to section 106 and how highways ensure that the disabled space is safe. So that will be done through the legal process and through the contributions. In terms of the library, it is noted that this will be a considerable reduction in the size, and that has been noted. It is noted in the library strategy that this site was earmarked for closure and redevelopment, and so Ealing Council have looked to maintain a library on the site and to ensure that it's community managed in order for the manager to ensure the right equipment for that library is in that facility, and it has been confirmed that size is adequate for a community managed library and is consistent with other community managed libraries across London, and that's just through information that's I've received from the library teams.
Okay, thank you, Sean. I don't see anyone else. So Councillor Mahmood is indicating, well, I've got a couple of questions before Councillor Mahmood. I bring in Councillor Mahmood. So 2 questions. One is 2 units don't have private amenity space, and what is the reason behind that? And so the second question is if a community group is not found for the library, what will happen to that space?
Okay, so regarding the private amenity space, the layout of the proposal has been amended a number of times through the pre-application service. So you can see that in your design and access statement in the document 1 of the design and access statement. It's been amended several times, and so it was to reduce any overlooking into the school, especially. And so in order to maximise the number of London affordable rent unit on the site, as well as offer as many units as possible private amenity space, 9 out of the 11 have got this in order to both not harm existing residents and existing users of surrounding sites, and to ensure that there's a private amenity for as many residents as possible. It is noted that the communal amenity space is directly outside the entrance to the site, so it's not like long distances between units to the communal amenity space. And as you saw in the diagrams, the aspects that it will look like, so that was deemed sufficient and in keeping with objectives regarding amenity. What was your second point? Sorry, Councillor.
If the library wasn't found, what would happen to the space?
I haven't got that information regarding from the libraries team. They're just saying they're going to work to find a community partner, and I guess that wouldn't really be down to us planning to ensure they find a partner, but to do with the library. All I can assure you is, like all the schemes, these are done with by Ealing Council. So, and the class use of this will be restricted to F1, which incorporates education and learning and non-education facilities. So, it wouldn't be able to just change into anything random.
So we're conditioning it as a class use. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Councillor Mahmood, you indicated first.
Thank you, Chair. And so more or less the 2 issues I wanted to address that, and you have asked one point. That's the very growing concern in the local community in terms of size of the library and children's centre as well. At the moment, children's centre is not working, but there was a provision of children's centre, and the library was there for many years, or 100 years. So my question, the 2 questions I'm very struggling to understand in terms of disabled parking facility, which is far away from the main library, and number 2 is why the library size is very smaller than the previous one. So is there any possibility we could get the better option for parking, or anything we can improve on that? Thank you, Chair.
Size and parking, right.
Do you want me to come back on those points? Councillor?
couple, and then we'll go to another couple if that's okay.
Yeah,
so, Councillor, you are next. Councillor Milliken, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't just hear my name. Yes, it's a point really I wanted to make. I'm on page 81 of 332. It's talking about the height of the building. Is similar to the number of floors and the most build, although greater than most buildings along Whitman Avenue West. However, it is considered the development is only 1 story higher than the neighbouring site. And it's really just a general point. It seems to me that each one of the applications we've got this evening is taller than all the neighbouring properties. And I just wondered, why that is. I mean, it is really just a case of cramming and more in as much as we can. That's as far as I can see. So it's just a point I'm making. I struggle with some of these. I know the next one we've got coming up is also taller than the neighbouring ones. So anyway, just a point, Chair.
Yeah, point taken. So I'll move on to someone else because it's questions we're doing at the moment. But I'm not sure if it's Councillor Woodruff next, but in the list in front of me, you are next, Councillor Woodruff.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Because my computer keeps going onto a white screen and it's something strange happening. But as long as you can hear me, I represent Greenford Green at Oldfield Circus is in, so it's just across the road from my ward. I'm also a librarian by profession, so I ought to declare an interest, and I'm quite passionate about libraries. So, so I'm concerned that there's very little information. I mean, this is obviously we're talking housing report. There's very little in the report about the library and the size and why it's that size, which I find quite disappointing. But I think the children. This centre would be for the library, would it? Are we saying that the children's centre is closed altogether and will not be part of that? Is that true?
My understanding. But if you can hold on, Sean, for that, and I'll take Councillor Anand's question. Sorry, Simon, have you finished? Was there anything else?
Yeah, well, just a point that I know. We're looking for a community managed library. I think the reason it's in the state it is because under the strategy it was one of two libraries that did not find people to community manage it as such. Most libraries did find some local people to do it, and it failed this time. So if it fails to find community people to manage it again, I think, as you were saying, I'm a bit concerned about its future. I think it's I think we should at least keep some sort of library facility there.
Yeah, okay. I'll take Councillor Anand and then you can come back, Sean, if you've got all those questions at the moment.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll make a note of these.
Thank you. Councillor Anand?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's just basically just carrying on with the points that's already mentioned about the library. I would urge that whatever powers we've got as committee, we do whatever we can in a condition to maintain the library use. And if something can be done to increase the size, as Councillor Mahmood said and Councillor Woodruff has said, my concern, that's it, basically that we do whatever we can to maintain that it's used as a library. And although we don't have a partner right now, that some condition is there to make sure that the library use is retained. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, as we've mentioned before, the usage is for a library. So that is in the planning documents, but I'll let Sean come in. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm just doing it in order that people spoke, just so that's the order I've got written down. So in terms of the siting of the parking, we had to be aware of the road junctions, which are directly to the south, as well as to the school as well. And then you have a roundabout. So based on all those factors, the nearest parking anywhere that people can park is on the parking bays. And so those parking bays are there existing, and 2 will be enhanced to be for accessible provision. But there is no, there's just no way that we could fit one on the site or within any closer to the site due to the proximity to roundabout and road junctions. Regarding the size of the library, it had been confirmed through communication with the library team that this is a sufficient size that can meet requirements for community managed libraries and is consistent with other community managed libraries across London, not necessarily Ealing, but in other boroughs of London. It is noted that, just to highlight the library strategy, this site, it was recommended for disposal. And so the Northolt Leisure Library is also in close vicinity, less than a mile away, and it was highlighted that it would be 12 minutes point to point in the fastest time with public transport via the bus, as well as being under 20-minute walk. And that those maps were in the earlier PowerPoint, but if anyone needs to see that again, then just let me know. In terms of the height, you said there was just I guess it was just a point, but it is to note that this is a 4-storey in height, and opposite the road, opposite of Palmer Court, is also 4 stories. So it's not like it's the only 4-storey in the vicinity. There's one directly opposite. Regarding the children's centre closure, it is closed. There's no plans to reopen. I haven't been told that there's any plans to reopen. There's been no information about any sort of reopening, so it is permanently closed as far as we're aware. And that is how we've assessed this site and why it's come through as a whole site development. In terms of community management, it's just because of the COVID restrictions that Ealing Council haven't been able to sort as quickly as they have with other sites before COVID. As soon as restrictions are lifted, the library team are seeking again. And finally, if you look on the officer's report, condition 3 is a restrictive class use of F1 to ensure that the site does maintain as a library or of any class in that small section, which is generally these sort of libraries. Let me know if I missed any points from your questions.
Okay.
Can I just come back, if you don't mind?
Is that Councillor Mahmood?
Yeah.
Yes. Is it a different point, or is it a point that hasn't been answered?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that this is not a planning issue, and this is not a protection. I've heard lots of things this evening about the closure and not closure or future of the library. We are not here to think about that and decide what would be the future of the library, either it would be community-led or not. We are not talking about that. We are talking about the space of
Mahmood, I think the point's been made by the officer actually as well. But yeah, I get your point. And I don't see anyone else coming back. So I'm likely to go to the vote.
I've still got my hand up.
Oh, I can't see. Oh, sorry. I can't see your hand. Oh yeah, you're right at the bottom. And Councillor Miriam Rice as well. Sorry, I didn't see them. Councillor Ball, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think there are two issues here. So yeah, one is the point that has been raised by others about the viability of the disabled space being out on the road rather than actually off road. I mean, it's one of these things. I'm sure if we'd have had a site visit, it probably would have been more apparent what the layout is. But it's difficult without the site visit to form an independent view of whether it's completely impossible to have disabled access sort of on the site directly next to the building, as we would expect, rather than 40 meters away across a footpath. The other thing is in terms of the continuing library use, I think I'd like to look a bit about so the F1 use class. I think that includes, it would include, for instance, is it correct that it would include, for instance, a private nursery or a religious use, for instance? So it's not specifically libraries. I mean, if it's the case that would allow anything in that use class, I'd like to second Councillor Ann's proposal to add a condition that's requiring it to specifically be provision of a library in that space, if we can.
Okay, I hear that, Councillor Ball. I'll bring it back. Let me take Councillor Rice first.
Thank you, Chair. Because we're hearing about the disabled parking spaces, and we're hearing about that we've got a pathway to save people having to walk or move across the grass verge. I think the point that's been made to me is that the real issue is whether or not you actually need to go into a busy road in order to enter the car. So when you are parked in a disabled parking space, which is going to be incredibly difficult for someone who is in a wheelchair. So I just wondered if we can have any reassurance on that, please. Thank you.
Sean, can you?
Yeah, no problem. So in terms of, I guess it's easy, start with Councillor Rice. So we have got Section 106 contributions subject to the agreement from the highways to form the disabled parking. So they'll do it to their requirements to meet disabled criteria, disabled parking criteria. So all I can really say is that it will be highways that provide Ealing Council highways to meet in their standards. And then in terms of the siting of the disabled parking, I know it's been highlighted several times, but it is also to note that the parking for the existing site and the existing library is where the disabled parking is going. So it's not like it's a reduction to how people access the site of today or where people park to use the site of today. It's the same in terms of for disabled people. Apart from this time, we'd actually have a designated bay, which would be for disabled, whereas at the moment it doesn't, Whitton Avenue. And in terms of the use class, you're correct that it incorporates learning and non-residential institutions, which can be provision of education or display of works for a museum. The reason it wasn't restricted to library only was for the viability of the site in the long term. Whilst Ealing Council are the developer and will look to have a library partner and a community managed library, we don't want the site to become completely redundant, and so having it's still restrictive in terms of what it can be used for as a learning and non-residential institution to benefit the community. But we didn't want to limit it further. However, if enough councillors do think it should be limited further, I'm sure the condition could look into be reworded to include just point D of use class F, which is for a public library or public reading room.
Can I just briefly come back on that? I mean, obviously, if there was a situation down the road where it wasn't possible to find a partner, it'd be possible for the council to come back and seek change of use. So, you know, it wouldn't be tying it forever, but I think it would be helpful for us to put that requirement in, as Councillor Anand suggested.
Councillor Ball, let me ask Jackie if it's possible to do that first.
Yes, it is possible to do that, and so what you'll need to do is when you go to the vote, decide. You know, I would suggest that you then also go to the vote on whether or not that's without an amendment to the condition.
Let's do the condition first, shall we? Right. So I've heard, Councillor. So I've heard the condition around keeping this as a library space rather than the general condition of is it F1? So
do you just so you're aware, would you like me just to show you what is incorporated in use class F1 so you can see what does feature in it?
Is it a long list?
No, it's only a very short points. But I think if you're going to vote on it, if you're going to restrict it or not, it's probably helpful that you have that information.
Yeah.
So just here it says the provision of education, the display of works of art, such as a gallery, as a museum, as a public library or public reading room, as a public hall or exhibition hall, or in connection with public worship or religious instruction. So these are the only 6 things which go into class use F1. So it's not a long list, it's just a few points.
Okay, I don't, thank you, Sean. I don't think we want to open up in terms of pick and mix. So it's either library use, full stop, or F1 use. So the proposal is from Councillor Anand and seconded by Councillor Ball that we have a condition on library use only. So let me go to the screen and hopefully get everyone up. And could you vote yes for library use only or no and leave it as F1 use? please, using your, or if you, or raise your hand if you're abstaining, please. So I've got 3. So
I don't think everyone has casted a vote by the looks of it.
I've casted a vote. So is everyone, Councillor Mahmood, are you casting a vote? Right. Anyone else?
There should just be one more.
Shabazz, Councillor Ahmed. If I don't get a vote, I don't think in terms of numbers, I don't.
Yeah, Chair. My mic is playing, you know. So
do you vote for a condition just for a library, or do you want do you vote against that condition just for a library?
Yeah, just for the library use.
Right. So you're voting for that. Okay. So.
Okay.
Kate, have you got all the people
so in
now?
total, then yes. So there's including Councillor Ahmed, there will be 8 voting for that and 4 against. And those against are Councillor Ray Wall, Lauren Wall, Miriam Rice. And one's gone.
Councillor Conlon. I can see green. Councillor Conlon's
Oh
the
yeah,
other.
lower down, Councillor Conlon. Yes.
So with bearing in mind, because I'd like to go to the vote now, bearing in mind that we have conditioned it for library use only, can we all take our, can we clear the screen? Who's got control of that screen? Right. Can we vote yes for the application with the condition attached? No, if you don't want the application, and obviously raise your hand if you're abstaining, please. Can you all vote now? Always want to say that. So has everyone voted? Councillor Rice, Councillor Shabazz Ahmed, verbally, will you vote, please?
Yeah, I'm in for the chair.
4. Okay, so you're in favour of the application.
Okay, so that's unanimous then, Chair. Everyone's for.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Has someone got Councillor?
Yep, I'm back. Thank you.
Well, that was quick.
Well, I
Right.
didn't come off. I just was muted.
Right.
Whatever. So, okay. Thank you
Well,
very
I'll
much.
hand back to you then, Chair.
Sorry?
I'll hand back to you and I hope you're quicker on the next ones than I was.
Well, it's already nearly 9 o'clock, so I would ask committee to bear that in mind. Okay, we're going to move on. We have item 11 where we have a speaker, so I'm going to jump item 9 and 10, and I'm going to go to item 11, which is land adjacent to number 5 to 17 Chesterton Close and 5 to 17 Evesham Close, Greenford. Because we have an objector, I think it's best we do that one first, and then we'll move to the others where there's no speakers. We have Wade. Wade, apologies, I know I'm jumping, but I didn't realize that we had a speaker. So are you happy to do item 11?
Yes, of course, no problem. Just bear with me while I open the relevant presentation. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes, we can now.
Brilliant. Okay, the next site on tonight's agenda is the Chessington and Eam site. The application site comprises the land adjacent to 2 blocks of flats, one being at 5 to 17 Chessington Close and the other being at 5 to 17 Evesham Close, as well as 2 rows of garages on both roads. The site forms the termination of 2 cul-de-sac streets, which are both accessed off Marnham Crescent, and the site extends to approximately 5,900 square meters and is owned by Ealing Council. The site contains 2 areas of underutilized semi-private communal green space to the side and rear of the existing properties. The 2 blocks of flats currently accommodate 12 dwellings each, and that there are 2 rows of small garages that sit within the site, as you can see in these images. These are the 2 blocks and the rows of garages. The other one is there. This is some images of that space adjacent to the site where the blocks are proposed. The applicant seeks planning permission for the proposed demolition of the existing rows of garages to facilitate a development comprising 25 residential homes accommodated in 2 blocks of flats and 2 single-story houses, with a unit mix of 8 one-beds, 8 two-beds, 8 two-bed 4-person units, 3 two-bed 3-person units, and 6 3-bed 5-person homes. All of these proposed homes would be offered as London affordable rent, and therefore the scheme would be providing 100% affordable homes. The 2 proposed houses at blocks 3 and 4, as you can see at the bottom of your screen on this image, would be single-story in height, whilst the flatted blocks, blocks 1 and 2, would rise to 4 stories in height, stepping down to 3 stories to the rear, where they would face onto Marnham Fields. It's a green belt space just beyond the north of the site. Blocks 1 and 2 are designed to step back in plan and down in height towards the rear to maximize the existing and new views towards the green belt. This height and massing strategy are considered to be sensitive in design and approach that takes due consideration of the site's immediate locality and neighboring buildings and uses. The palette of materials consists primarily of horizontal bands of light and dark colored brick. At certain elements in the building, darker glazed bricks are proposed, for instance, around the base of the building, around residential entrances, and the glazed shoulder courses below windows and to the edge of balconies. The proposal is also supported by a comprehensive and considered landscaping, amenity, and play space strategy, providing private and communal amenity space and streetscape improvements. The development proposes to retain existing parking on site, improve the existing street layout, and add additional parking where there is currently an area of underutilized lawn on both streets, as you can see demonstrated on these sides over here. The proposed development would optimize the regeneration potential of the existing underutilized site in a sustainable location and would offer 100% affordable housing to bridge the gap between identified housing need and supply within the borough, and therefore the principle of residential development in this location is considered acceptable. Each of the proposed dwellings would have a well-designed layout and would enable a good standard of internal living. All dwellings would meet or exceed the minimum space standards and amenity space standards as set out in the London Plan. In addition, all units would be dual aspect. As such, the proposed development is considered to accord with the London Plan Policy 3.5, which seeks to secure high-quality housing developments by taking into account the local context, including density and character, and by providing new affordable and high-quality housing in an existing residential area, creating a more positive termination of the streets. 2 representations from local residents have been received, both in objection. Matters raised in these objections include the potential loss of privacy from overlooking, increased noise and air pollution, additional car parking stress, increased traffic congestion, road safety, and concerns around nuisance during construction, impact on the local environment and ecology, impact on existing infrastructure and amenities. In addition, an objection regarding the proposed Block 3 was received, as this house would block access to a neighboring property's garden. These representations have been reviewed and considered and acknowledged within the report and the briefing notes. The impact of the development on neighboring amenity has been assessed and has been found to fail to give rise to any undue noise emissions, overlooking, overshadowing, or an increased sense of enclosure due to the way the blocks have been designed. A sunlight and daylight assessment has also been submitted with the application and demonstrates that where there is an impact on neighboring properties, the scale of the impact is considered marginal and acceptable. The impact has been assessed as minor overall in this regard. It is therefore not expected to have any detrimental impacts on the level of amenity available to the occupants of the host and the neighboring properties. It has therefore been concluded that the matters raised do not outweigh the recommendation for approval in this case. All other matters, including impact on local ecology, environmental health, transport matters, servicing, energy and sustainability have all been assessed and found acceptable. As a note, an objection was received after the publication of the report stating that the proposed dwelling at Block 3 would block access to the rear garden of a neighbouring property. This can be shown, the property in question is shown using arrows in these images. As demonstrated, the access is not clear from the image, but the plans show that the proposed garden amenity space for Block 3 would border the rear gardens of neighbouring properties. This, however, would not prevent access and loading or unloading to the property, which could be accommodated through the fronts of the property, as would be the case for the majority of other properties along this road. The proposal is therefore considered to be consistent with the aims of the relevant adopted policies and documents of the local plan, the relevant supplementary planning guidance, the National Planning Policy Framework, and emerging planning policy documents. It is therefore recommended that planning permission be granted with conditions subject to planning obligations. Thank you.
Thank you, Wade. We have an objector. Is it Zoe Lashley?
It's Zoe.
Zoe.
Yeah. Hiya.
Hi. So, Katie, could you put on the timer? You'll have 3 minutes.
Hello. Hiya. And apologies, I've never done one of these sort of things before.
That's
so.
okay. Take your time. Katie, can you put the timer on so Zoe knows?
Oh, and I've got a toddler approaching me as well. Apologies. Yeah, so I'm wanting to speak about a few of the things here. To start off with is the parking. One of my main concerns is about the lack of parking in the area. I saw from the plans just mentioned there that there's showing some additional, but it's losing a green space that's just next to some of the properties. And if you've got about, I think it's about 25 proposed new residents, that's a lot of houses and a lot of parking. Apologies, child running towards me. So yeah, that's one of my concerns. Also, when you mentioned about one of the properties losing access to the back of the property, that's where it's used for parking and for work loading of car is put in there to load up stuff from equipment from there. So I'm presuming that access wouldn't be actually possible from that back area anymore. And it would be impossible, say, to one of the cars that parks there isn't going to be able to go through the house to get out of it. One of my other concerns is loss of green space. Now that's not just for myself on the outside area where the proposed parking area is, but also for the people who are in their block of flats already existing there, because I know it'll be built onto there. And when it comes to sort of the actual building of the properties, I have concerns around access for any of those vehicles. It's a very, very narrow road, if any of you have seen it, where there's not a lot of space in the first instance. So having those vehicles going down there, I could imagine a lot of vehicles quite possibly getting damaged. Apologies, you've got a child crying in the background now.
That's okay, don't worry.
Yeah, loss of privacy for the proposed, where the houses are overlooking. This is for not the flats, but the houses overlooking some of the back gardens. I have a concern over that in terms of I hadn't really thought of the sunlight bit, but yes, that is definitely a concern. I have also concerns about the building work around Marnham Fields itself. It's a really important environmental area. You've got red kites flying there and buzzards, etc., and how the building work would impact on there. Let's see, sorry, one other note, I've got a few seconds left. And the utilities, like our draining system already is over pushed there, and to add more households there would mean increased blocked drains, and that I've experienced all the time, and lack of internet because it's already at breaking point with the amount of residents there. Okay, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
That was a bit roughshod.
That's okay, don't worry. Yeah, we got your message.
Yeah.
Melissa, you have 3 minutes as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Shall I start now, Katie? Or?
Katie, do you want to put on the timer on? Okay, off you go.
The applicant is seeking to redevelop underused land at the termination of 2 cul-de-sac streets, Chessington Close and Evesham Close, which include 2 rows of garages that are too small to accommodate modern vehicles. The site represents an underutilised land resource in an established residential area. The proposed development comprises 2 new blocks of flats and 2 new houses, providing 25 new residential homes, along with associated landscape and streetscape improvements, new parking and a new substation. 2 rows of underused, partially derelict garages will be demolished to facilitate the development. The proposed residential accommodation will be 100% affordable and at London affordable rent to help provide much needed, genuinely affordable homes. The new buildings will create more activity and enhance passive surveillance at the termination of cul-de-sac streets, which will help to address issues in relation to security and antisocial behaviour. The proposals also provide improvements to the...
Sorry, Melissa, could some people mute themselves, please? There's interference. Okay, sorry, Melissa, we'll give you more time.
No worries. The proposals also provide improvements to the existing communal gardens for the benefit of both new and existing residents, which will be enhanced to provide a range of different uses from children's play space to quieter spaces more appropriate for quiet relaxation and reading. The development proposes to retain existing parking on the site, improve the existing street layout and add 16 new parking spaces to meet the requirements of new and existing residents. The approach has been supported by a parking beat survey and includes the provision of 4 electrical vehicle charging points. The proposals are a landmark in sustainable design in the borough and have been designed to achieve passive house standards to help address the climate emergency. The proposed material palette has been informed by visits to the site as well as the character study of the local area. The consultation process has involved engagement with local residents, key stakeholders and local councillors and ward members. The applicant and design team listened to residents' concerns and ideas and made several changes to the design as a result, including the reduction in the height of the development and amendments to the landscape and access arrangements. In conclusion, given the site represents an underutilised land resource in an established residential area, the submitted proposals will help to provide much needed, genuinely affordable housing and constitute an exemplary and highly sustainable modern development.
Thank you.
That's been done.
Thank you very much. Wade, do you want to come back on anything that was raised?
Yes, sure. I was taking some notes. Thank you for raising those concerns. I completely appreciate them. In terms of parking, I think Melissa just addressed that in the sense that there would be no net loss of parking and rather a net increase of 16 bays to accommodate the new residents. In terms of issues related to privacy and overlooking of the 2 smaller blocks, it's noted that all windows and openings to these blocks would be at single-story level. And while the gardens to these blocks would adjoin neighbouring gardens, that is an existing situation, and therefore wouldn't increase any loss of privacy above the existing situation. In terms of access for construction, during construction, we have conditioned that a comprehensive construction management plan needs to be submitted and approved by the council prior to commencement of the development. And that includes for controls regarding highways as well as neighbouring amenity. In terms of the impacts on local infrastructure, the only one I can comment on is wastewater and water, where we received comments from Thames Water raising no objection to the proposal, subject to appropriate informatives that we've included in the officer's report. I think that addresses everything, but please let me know if I've missed anything.
Okay.
Thanks.
I haven't seen any hands raised, so can I? Okay, I've got 2. Oh, somebody's voted, Councillor Rice. Okay, Councillor Ball and Councillor Rice. So Councillor Ball first.
Yeah, just very quickly. I note that the material palette of the building is informed by the architect's visit to the site. The materials are exactly the same as the first application today, so I mean, maybe we save some money by having exactly the same external design, but if it's a sort of boilerplate design that's being knocked out, we really shouldn't be pretending that it's specific to the site.
Okay, noted. Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for the early vote there. I just have one point because it came up about the broadband and there being issues there. I mean, is there some way that, since the council's doing this, is there some way that we can maybe address the fact and ensure that all residents get adequate Wi-Fi and adequate facilities in that respect, please? Thank you.
Wade, would that be something that we could? I mean, I would have thought the new blocks would have Wi-Fi built in, wouldn't they?
Well, they would have, I'm assuming, and apologize, this is an assumption, that there would be, well, actually any home can link up to BT or to Virgin Mobile, where they will come to the home and install connection to broadband. In terms of providing additional capacity, that's unfortunately beyond our capabilities, as it's the main licensed operators that provide that capacity, and so we unfortunately have no control over that. But in terms of connections to the homes, that's something that each homeowner can arrange fairly easily with their service provider. So, for instance, if you wanted to use Virgin Mobile or Virgin Media for your Wi-Fi, just as an example, it would be standard for any home to contact Virgin, and they would come out to the site. And as long as their facilities are there, then they can connect you, and you would pay your monthly fee as per normal. And that would be the same for BT Outreach, which is a bit more common, I think, in London.
No, Wade, I think what the councillor was getting at, and maybe what I'm asking, is when you build new properties, you could lay the fibre optic cables into the ground and into the flats. So therefore, when there's a connection made from outside, all the connections are at the fastest speed possible in terms of fibre into the home.
Yeah. So my understanding is that any fibre infrastructure underground is provided by the licensed operators and not by the council. Please, someone correct me if I am wrong. But in terms of connection, to connect from a home to that cable, as long as there is one on the public street to the front of your house, then you can connect to it. Okay. But that in terms of providing that first point of first line, that's not something, as far as I understand, it's not something that the council is capable of providing. It's a licensed operator that does that.
Okay, I've got Jackie Adams raised her hand. Sorry, have we asked something that we shouldn't have asked?
No, I was just going to suggest that this probably isn't something that we.
Yes, yeah, I understand. It's not a planning issue as such.
It obviously informally can be taken away and noted for officers to explore what can be done.
I think that's yes, that's a good suggestion, Jackie. I think we could just put an informal thing on it to say, ask the question, and then.
Yes, thank you for noting that, officers. Thank you.
Okay, I see no other hands up, so I'm going to move to the vote on this one. Could people please vote yes for no for no, and raise hand for abstain. Councillor Ahmed.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, I'm in the 4, Chair.
Okay, Katie, I can see. I think everybody's voted for this item. Can you confirm?
Yes. So yes, that's 13 yeses. So unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to move back to the agenda item 9. Maitland Yard and Dean Garden car parks. There are no other speakers. So Wade, could you just introduce the item and then we'll move straight into debate?
Absolutely. Just bringing that up now. Can everybody see that?
Just coming. Yes, we can now.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, the next site on tonight's agenda is the Dean Gardens and Maitland Yard car park site. The application site comprises both the Maitland Yard and Dean Gardens car parks, which are located to the south of Pioneer Court and Leland Mansions. The site is accessed off Leland Terrace along the stretch here, which is off Oxbridge Road, opposite the western side of Dean Gardens. The site extends to approximately just over 4,000 square meters and is owned by Ealing Council. The site is located in the Warple Ward in West Ealing, and in terms of planning constraints, the site is not located in a conservation area, does not contain a statutory listed building, but the site is, however, located in the Ealing Metropolitan Town Centre and the West Ealing Central Neighbourhood Plan area. The site is also within a allocated site for redevelopment in accordance with the Ealing's Development Sites DPD. Which is allocated for a mixed-use development appropriate to a town centre with retention of town centre car parking. The area surrounding the site comprises of larger urban blocks to the north, fronting Broadway, and a smaller grain of residential terrace housing to the south of the site. The immediate area is characterised by 2 to 3 story Victorian red brick buildings and more modern post-war infill development. Dean Gardens car park remains an open area of land that lacks definition to the urban block. There are significant redevelopments undergoing along Oxford Road, which is altering the prevailing density, height, and character of the immediate area. These include 96 to 102 Broadway, where planning permission was granted for the redevelopment of the site to provide 20 flats and just short of 1,000 square meters of commercial floor space on the ground floor, accommodated within a part 11-story fronting onto the Broadway and part 15-story fronting onto Singapore Road building. At 67 to 75 Broadway, part 5 and part 6-story development was granted planning permission for the creation of a 70-bed hotel. At 72 to 76 Broadway, the planning committee resolved to grant, subject to the completion of a Section 106 agreement, which is currently undergoing, to redevelop the site to provide 56 flats and communal floor space accommodated within a Part 4, Part 5, and Part 9 and Part 10 story building. Finally, Sherwood Close, which was granted in 2015 for the redevelopment of the site to provide 305 residential units. The proposal at this site is for the construction of a 4-story building, a 6-story building, and an 8-story building, with lower ground floors comprising 53 residential units in total, and a commercial unit along Oxbridge Road under Use Class E. The proposal also includes the provision of refuse storage, cycle parking, plant rooms, and associated alterations to the site access, public realm improvements comprising comprehensive landscaping, and an altered car parking layout. The proposal would retain a total of 37 car parking spaces of the existing 76, situated within both existing car parks. The proposed 3 buildings have been designed to gradually step up in height from west to east. Building 1 is located on the western part of the site in close proximity to the existing Salvation Army Hall and rises to 4 stories. Building 2 is located in the center of the site and is proposed to rise to 6 stories. Building 3 is located in the prominent location along the Broadway and rises to 8 stories in height. The proposed development is considered to accord with the intent to publish London Plan Policy D3 and the London Plan Policy 3.5 by taking into account the local context, including density and local character, by providing new housing in an existing residential area and re-establishing the strong building line and active frontage along Oxbridge Road and Leland Terrace. The building's form, design, and materials overall of all 3 blocks would secure a high-quality design that responds acceptably to its location and would raise the appearance and amenity of this corner site. The overall design would therefore be compliant with the development plan policy in terms of urban design. A balanced judgment has been made, similar to the Arden Road site, in terms of the scale of any harm to the nearby Ealing Green Conservation Area and locally listed buildings along Broadway. It is considered that any limited harm caused would be less than substantial in accordance with the NPPF upon the heritage significance of these heritage assets and that this limited harm would be outweighed by the significant benefits of the scheme. The proposal is therefore considered to be acceptable in accordance with paragraphs 195 and 197 of the NPPF. The proposed buildings are characterized, as you know, by horizontal brick banding of light and darker colored brick. At certain moments in the building, darker glazed brick is proposed, for instance, around the base of the building, entrances, and around the windows and edges of balconies. To complement the horizontal banding of brick, it is proposed to use tinted precasted copings and a dark red/purple color for all external metalwork, including windows and doors. The proposal comprises 22 units for private sale, which represents 41.5%, and 31 affordable homes at 58.5%, therefore exceeding the London Borough of Ealing's target for 50% affordable housing. The proposal includes a policy-compliant affordable 10-year split of 21 genuinely affordable London affordable rent units at 68% and 10 shared ownership units at 32%. All of the proposed units would meet or exceed the minimum internal space standards contained in Table 3.3 of the London Plan, and would all be dual aspect to provide excellent natural light and natural ventilation. The proposed development would be car-free, in inverted commas, with all residents being exempt from obtaining a parking permit for parking within the CPZ. Two wheelchair accessible bays, however, are proposed for future residents of the development and both will benefit from active vehicle charging points. Each apartment would be provided with access to an internal bike store within the building, with corridor widths being appropriate in line with the London cycling design standards to allow for appropriate access. A total of 93 long stay and 10 short stay cycle parking spaces would be provided. Bin stores for residential development are strategically located for access by collection operatives in close proximity to the road access. The proposal is supported by a comprehensive and considered landscaping, amenity, and play space strategy. Overall, 519 square meters of amenity space and play space is proposed across the site. A total of 340 square meters of private amenity space is proposed in the form of private balconies. In addition, a communal square is proposed, extending to 65 square meters. A total of 114 square meters of children's play space is proposed through features including stepping logs, playable mounds, and boulders. The proposed development would optimize the regeneration potential of the existing car park sites in this sustainable location. The scheme would deliver 58.5% affordable housing to bridge the gap between identified housing need and supply within the borough. The provision of flexible commercial space along Oxford Road would activate the ground floor of Block 3. In combination with the additional residents, would enhance and sustain the vitality of this part of the Ealing Metropolitan Town Centre. This is considered consistent with the local and regional policies, and therefore the principle of this residential-led mixed-use scheme in this location is considered acceptable.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, it's got two more slides. 7 representations from residents have been received, including those from the chair of the Walpole Residents Association and Ealing Civic Society, all in objection. The most common matters raised in these representations include the height of the proposed buildings, the design and use of materials, the loss of existing trees, impact to neighbouring amenity in terms of loss of sunlight and daylight, privacy and outlook, loss of car parking, and the affordable housing tenure offered. These representations have been reviewed and acknowledged within the report. However, it has been concluded that the matters raised do not outweigh the recommendation for approval in this case. All other matters, including impact on local ecology, environmental health, transport matters, and servicing energy and sustainability, have all been assessed and found acceptable. The proposal has therefore been recommended for approval, subject to conditions and appropriate planning obligations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wayne.
Sorry, I think there was a little bit of a lag on my presentation. I hope everyone managed to get what else?
It's fine. I think we all saw it. Okay, if you take it off, I can then see who wants to ask any questions. Okay, I'll go from top down. Councillor Ray Wall, Councillor Miriam Rice, Councillor David Milliken, and Councillor Paul Conlon. So Councillor Wall,
You won't be surprised what I'm going to ask.
Pepper potting. I was going to ask Wade to do it, but I thought I'd let you do it. Go on then.
Well, yeah, the word asks the question really, so I won't. This time of night, I just want to ask that question.
Okay, Councillor Rice.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Right. So again, I'm going to go back to the point about how useful it would actually have been to have actually had a site visit. I know it's impossible at the moment because I'm trying to get my head around the area and what I know about the area. I mean, with all this building being in place, we've said that there'll be no issues with parking. But what would concern me is that in terms of kind of delivery trucks or any kind of other kind of trucks related to the retail in the area, I think that there's the charity shop which does furniture there. I mean, there will be obviously a likelihood that there will be vans having to collect furniture and take it away or bring it in. And there's also, from what I believe, there's a farmers market that's in the area. Now I'm just wondering how that would affect, however it would affect it when you've got the traders, they come in with their vehicles. I mean, if there would be any issues there. I mean, I'm sure you could put my mind at rest very easily, but as I say, because I haven't had a chance to go there, I can't really get my head around it. Please, thank you.
Okay, all right, and then Councillor Milliken.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, I mean, I know the area extremely well. I live nearby and, you know, it's my backyard, so to speak. And I have to say, I'm extremely concerned about the lack of, or the removal of the parking. Everybody knows that a success of a shopping centre, one of the key criteria of the success of a shopping centre is ability to park. Obviously, people get there other means as well, but people drive there. And as we know, there's a Saturday market immediately nearby. There are shops immediately there. So I'm very, very concerned. And I think this, without putting too fine a point on it, I think if this goes through tonight, it will be the death knell for West Ealing. I think it will really struggle. I mean, Sainsbury's does have its own car parking, but I will really struggle to support this application this evening.
Okay, Councillor Milliken. Councillor Paul Conlon.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Yes, Right, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to ask the question that perhaps it was the question that Councillor Wall was going to ask, but then decided not to. As we've got, you know, a mixture of social housing. Well, not social housing, but London affordable rent housing, which is genuinely affordable. And we've also got private sale housing and a small element of shared ownership housing. And we've got three different blocks of flats. How is that housing going to be distributed between the three blocks? You know, is it going to be distributed fairly equally throughout each block? Or is, you know, the private housing going to be concentrated in one, and the shared and the London affordable rent in another, or something like that? That was my main question. I guess we're having the debate as well as the as the questions.
Yes.
Can I just pick up on Councillor Milliken's point? Is that okay, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I've had people raise concerns about the parking as well, but I'm much less concerned about this than Councillor Milliken is, because, you know, when you analyse the shoppers in West Ealing, very few of them actually travel there by car. There was a shopping survey done, and I think it was just 11% of them. The great majority of of shoppers there, they either walk or they use public transport. And there's also a small percentage, but growing, I hope, that cycle there. But yeah, you know, car parking is not that important to the shopping centre in West Ealing, and there is an awful lot of parking space, you know, on street, just outside on the street, just outside the car park. There's a lot of stop and shop bays. and there's also a lot of shared use parking bays, you know, in which people can spend all day parking and shopping if they really want to, without spending much money. So, you know, I think the reduced amount of parking is quite acceptable. And a final point, which, you know, I mean, the officer may have something to add on this or may not, but this area has in the past been and still been a hotspot for antisocial behaviour, and I am hoping that having this development here, having the whole of the area sort of overlooked by residential development, will very much, you know, reduce or hopefully sort of eliminate that antisocial behaviour and make it a much less hospitable environment for that. Now, I know that the housing officers were well aware of these issues in Maitland Yard, but, you know, maybe the officer could comment on the extent to which that thinking was taken into account and informed the design of the development.
Thank you.
And that's it from me.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, yeah, I was asking the question about pepper potting.
Yes, I know. I think that the officer got that. Wait, can we start off with pepper potting first?
Yes, I would ask Kishore to please comment on the reasons, but I do know that there is a split in how that is going to be distributed. Kishore, would you mind please commenting, Kishore?
Is he there?
Not sure.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, he is there. Kishore?
Yeah. The three blocks are essentially serving, providing 3 cores and providing 3 different tenures. So at the moment, the proposal is that each block will serve or provide a tenure. So the northern block, which is the 8-story block, will be for an affordable rent, and the 6-story block for private sale, and the 4-story block would be for shared ownership.
Okay, so in this instance, there are separate calls. Okay,
that's right.
Fine.
It's not okay.
Well, no, what I meant was we've got an answer, Ray, and you can come back in a minute. But can we just go back to the other issues that have been raised? Wait.
Yes, sure. In terms of, there was concern about servicing and deliveries. The applicant has submitted a transport assessment which demonstrates servicing delivery on site to ensure that there's no conflict with the existing roads. There's actually servicing delivery occurs to the rear of the, occurs on the site already. And so that has been taken into account in the servicing delivery plans to accommodate the existing servicing and the proposed. We've also secured this by condition to ensure that that servicing delivery is up to the council standards and that it will be safe. In terms of the loss of parking, yes, I would just add that while there is a loss of parking, it's just to bear in mind that the existing bays would continue to be for public use. They're not exclusively for the development. There would be metered parking, as is the existing situation. The applicant has submitted in the transport assessment, they have talked about the parking beat survey that was undertaken, which demonstrates that there is sufficient capacity on the surrounding streets. And I suppose it would then just, it would be up to members on what weight they give the retention of parking over the provision of housing. In terms of designing our crime, yes, that has been, I wasn't aware of any antisocial behavior at the site, but the site has been designed with designing our crime principles in mind. And we've included a condition actually that the site needs to achieve accreditation, secure by design accreditation. So it would be say it would only improve the situation, it wouldn't make it worse. And I think that addresses everything. I suppose one point to note, I know Kishore might come back on this and we might need to discuss this a bit further, but I suppose just be worth pointing out that the London affordable rents units would be on the 8-story block, which would have the best views, not only of the main road, but also of the Dean Gardens, or some of them at least on that side of the block would have the best views of the Dean Gardens open space. But I know that there's more to it than that, so I just thought I'd point that out.
That is helpful, at least they get the best views. Ray, do you want to come back? I know what you're going to say, but do you want to come back?
You may know what I'm going to say. You may not know what I'm going to say, but
it's a choice, isn't it?
Whether a view of Uxbridge Road is the best view is a mute point. But my point will always be, why are we not mixing them up when it's our own development in terms of tenures? And I don't see a real rationale. We'll be the freeholder of these, whether they're sold or not sold. We will have to do maintenance of communal areas in all blocks. It makes no sense to me why we're not mixing people of different tenures up to get mixed communities rather than different communities. And if it stays like this, I shall be voting against it tonight.
Well, okay. I'm not sure. We have to take the application as it stands, Ray. I'm not sure we could fundamentally change that. I mean, Kishore can come back and say whether it's possible or not.
Now, in terms of mixing or pepper potting within mixing different tenures within a block, as I touched upon before, it has these are quite small blocks, and it will have huge implications from management and maintenance point of view, and also from ensuring the blocks with different tenures. That becomes complicated with the various options that we would like to add to the block. So the simple answer is it's not done very widely, or there aren't very good examples of this, purely because it's quite difficult to achieve from long-term management point of view.
No, I understand that. Okay. Sorry, Ray?
It's nothing I heard there said we can't do it. It means it's
I've got your view, Ray. I've got your view. Let me move on. Council Simon Woodruff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's just one point. I think Councillor Rice mentioned it. The farmers market. It meets. I think it's Saturday mornings. Just outside the Salvation Army Hall in that little road. Will that be affected by the construction? Has any thought been given to that?
Wade, could you cover that?
If I'm honest, I didn't know that there was a market there, but with all these schemes, we have required a comprehensive construction management plan, and so I'm sure there's a way of us taking that into account in the condition. I would have to think on how we would reword that to accommodate it. But
in, Wade, could we put
it in? Can I just come in there? I don't think anything would need to be reworded in terms of the condition, but obviously it would be looked at as part of the construction management plan to obviously minimise impacts on those those other uses, including the farmers market. So we can make a note to ensure that happens.
I've made a note here already, so I'll just ensure that we follow that up.
Okay. I'm going to move to the vote. Members are aware of what the issue is, and Councillor Walls pointed it out, but I do think we should support it. So could I ask people to take their hands down and vote, please? Yeah, please, would you vote?
Yeah. Yes, Chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm for.
Okay, so clearly that's carried as far as I can see. Katie, can you confirm? There's only 2 against that I can see.
Yep, so that's right, Chair. So that's approved. So there's 11 in favour and 2 against, which is Councillor Raywall and Councillor David Milliken.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 10, the MEAP Day Centre, Shackleton Road. This is a small scheme, Sean, so can I just ask for a brief introduction?
Sorry, yes, I will be as brief as possible with this one. So I'm just going to share it now. Okay, so the fifth site is Shackleton Road or MEAP Day Centre. So the proposed development is for 10 residential homes, which is a mixture of 1 bed and 2 bed across 3 to 4 stories, replacing the former day centre. The development is on the northern side of Shackleton Road in Southall and comprises the 2-storey former day centre, which is currently vacant. The surrounding area is predominantly 2-storey dwelling houses with some 3-storey flats nearby in parts of Greenford Avenue and Lady Margaret Road. Southall Broadway is located a 4-minute walk to the south, and the nearest bus stops are located on Lady Margaret Road. The views of the site, so this is the view looking northwest. So this is the application site, is this square building, and that's the neighbouring medical centre, which is separate to this application. It's in use as a medical centre. So this is the view from looking northeast, so you can see the medical centre, but our application site is the square building on the right, as well as the 2-storey semi-detached house you can see next door to the day centre, the former day centre. And this is the secondary entrance from Greenford Avenue, which is the access to the proposed communal garden, but the access will be for just pedestrians and cyclists only. And then from the area view, you can see that it's in a predominantly residential area, and Southall Broadway is located just at the bottom where all these little pins are. Okay, so the proposed development is for part 3, part 4-storey development comprising 3 1-bed units and 7 2-bed units. All 10 units are London affordable rent and all have good quality living conditions. All 2-bedroom units are dual aspect, whilst all 1-bedroom units are south facing, therefore acceptable regarding light. All units meet minimum size for unit size, bedroom size and floor to ceiling heights, and all have access to private amenity space. There's a large communal garden at the rear of the site, with the secondary entrance from Greenford Avenue as indicated. All units are accessible via ground floor or lift, are M42 compliant, and conditions have been recommended regarding sound insulation to ensure quality living conditions. And there'll be a section 106, which also includes restrictions to parking permits in the controlled parking zone. So for the proposed development is 4 stories next to the medical centre, and it steps down to 3 nearest to the semi-detached residential, as indicated in the left and middle pictures. There's a large communal garden to the rear, which you can see on picture 3 on the right, which has a secondary entrance to the host building and bike store from Greenford Avenue, and there'd be a high level of planting which would enhance the site to the front and to the rear, as indicated on the plans, which would be complement the existing neighbouring amenity. So in terms of consultation, just 2 responses were received. The main issues were density, but design and parking were other issues raised. In terms of the density, which is the one that was raised by both objectors, as noted in the report, the density is within the guidance of table 3.2 of the London plan. It is noted that there are flats along Lady Margaret Road and Greenford Avenue, so the presence of flats is not uncommon, as you can see in this photo here. So these are located between the application site and Southall Broadway. Bear in mind, Southall Broadway is only a 4-minute walk away, so these are all within 2 to 3 minute walk. And so overall, 10 residential units being 100% affordable and providing housing stock which is complementary to the area. The scheme would maximise the use of the site and still provide high quality public and communal amenity space enhanced in the area, whilst the height of the proposed buildings would be complementary to the medical centre and the surrounding area. The proposal meets national and local planning policies, and therefore the recommendation is to grant permission subject to conditions in section 106.
Okay, thank you. I haven't see. Can we clear the voting, please, Katie? Or people can just clear the. Okay, that's good. People are aware of the application. It's 10 units, 100% affordable. Has anybody got any comments to make? Where any issues that they find not correct? I don't hear anything, so I'm minded to move to the vote. So could you please vote yes or no or abstain? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, yes from me.
Yep. Ray? Okay, I think, Katie, I think that's unanimous. If
Just waiting on, oh no, there we go. We've got another vote there. So yes, it is unanimous.
Okay, so it's all 13 in favour. So we move to the last item tonight, which is the car park at the junction between Hammond Road and Norwood Road. Again, it's Sean, it's for you again. So if you would be brief.
Yep. It's the proposal is for 6 3-bedroom units, replace an existing car park on Norwood Road in Southall. The development is located on the northern side of Norwood Road and currently comprises a 24-space surface car park. The surrounding area is predominantly residential with a mixture of 2- and 3-storey residential buildings to the north, east and south. 2 Gurdwaras are located in the vicinity, noted as points 1 and 2 on the image above. And the Gurdwara to the west is located on King Street, which is home to many commercial properties. The nearest bus stops are located along Norwood Road and Havelock Road. So the views of the site, the first one is facing north from Norwood Road, showing the surface car park with the 3-storey flats to the right, which is the east side, and the part 2, part 3-storey dwelling houses on the left, which is the west. So the second view is off from Hammond Road to show the car park with 2-storey dwelling houses along Hammond Road, as well as the 3-storey flats, which are east of the application site, which are clearly visible. And the some 2- and some 3-storey residential and commercial properties opposite, which you can see in the background. And then this is the aerial view to show the relation of the site, which is predominantly residential, but you can see King Street is very nearby to the site, which is commercial, mostly commercial. So the proposal is for 6 3-bed units and a pedestrian through route connecting Norwood Road and Hammond Road. This would be a mixture of 3-bed 4-person and 3-bed 5-person units, which meet the requirements of the Ealing Street Strategic Housing Market Assessment, or the SHMAR. All 6 units would be London affordable rent and all have good quality living conditions, and they all meet the minimum sizes of units and bedrooms and floor to ceiling heights. They would have ground floor patios and first floor terraces. All units would be accessible for ambulant disabled users, and conditions have been recommended regarding sound insulation and the section 106 for to restrict parking permits in the CPZ. The proposed development would be 3 stories in the centre and steps down to 2, which will complement the existing properties in the surrounded area. A through route is proposed for connecting Norwood Road and Hammond Road, and on this through route is where the entrances to all 6 of the properties, which would be called a mews. Trees would be located throughout the mews as well as to the front on Norwood Road, as you can see on image 1 and 2. And the refuse store is through the door from Hammond Road, which you can see on image 3. So one concern which would probably come up is the loss of 24 car parking spaces. So this is in accordance with promoting the use of sustainable travel policies in the London Plan and Ealing DBD. There has been a transport assessment which has shown adequate capacity at Norwood Road Car Park 1 and Featherstone Terrace Car Park, which are indicated on the plans. And it is noted that both of these car parks are substantially larger than the application sites. Financial contributions have been agreed regarding highway changes as well as disabled parking bays, which is the latter is mentioned in the briefing note. And all future residents will be not permitted to obtain parking permits through a section 106. So overall, 6 family-sized units being 100% affordable, meeting the need, which stated in the Ealing Strategic Housing Market Assessment, to maximise the site, provide a clear thoroughfare between Norwood Road and Hammond Road, and the proposed building heights are complementary to the surrounding area. So the recommendation is to grant permission subject to conditions and Section 106 agreement.
Thank you. Can we clear the voting from the last application? Okay. Has any members got any comments to make? It's a small application, all family accommodation, which is what we usually ask for. I don't hear anything, so I'm going to move directly to the vote. Please, would you vote now?
Yes, Chair, I'm voting for. Yes.
Okay. I think that's, Katie, do you make that everybody?
Oh yes, that's 13 in favour, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that was the last item on this agenda. Thank you very much. I wish everybody a happy and Merry Christmas, but I know with the COVID stuff, people have to be careful. I would say to the committee that in January, we'll be having 2 meetings, one on the 20th and one on the 27th. So I will be sending out rotas for all committee members, but the opposition, I think, should be aware as well that we are planning to have 2, 1 week, sorry, 20th of January and 27th of January, Councillor Milliken, Councillor Ball. So please, could you prepare, because there is quite a few applications pending. But otherwise, this is the end of the meeting. Thank you very much, and have a good Christmas, and then be ready for January when we'll have 2 meetings. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It was rather
Happy Christmas.
Thank you, Chair. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, Chair.